At this moment, within Chungcheng Palace, the atmosphere was exceptionally tense and oppressive, as if deathly silent. Next, it was the Minister of Right's turn to step forward. He was an elderly man of about 50, his voice trembling as he reported, "Your Majesty." He bowed respectfully and cautiously addressed the emperor. Today, while the Ministry of Rights was distributing porridge in the city, a group of beggars caused a disturbance. Ji Han appeared contemplative, casually resting his chin on his hand, his expression indifferent. The Minister of Rights looked up anxiously and added, "Your Majesty, how should this be handled?" A flicker of impatience crossed his eyes. His gaze instantly turned icy, his voice low, lazy, and arrogant. "These lowly vagrant beggars. Make an example of them. Execute them to establish authority." As soon as Ji Han finished speaking, the little one in his arms nodded. Immediately after, the little princess's long eyelashes fluttered, revealing a pair of clear, beautiful eyes. Ji Han, ruler of the 9 provinces, emperor of the Deceiver dynasty, was once the most tyrannical despot, bloodthirsty and merciless. But ever since he had his daughter, the little one pouted her lips and clenched her tiny fists, pleading, "Daddy, don't kill them. Don't kill them." Upon hearing his daughter's words, he seemed to freeze, his demeanor instantly transforming. He quickly held her close, soothing her gently. "No Onyuo, no killing, no killing. Daddy was just joking with the minister." Suddenly, small hands pushed against him, and she began to climb upwards. A moment later, her bright little face peeked out, looking down at the Minister of Rights and asking, "Grandpa Minister, can we try Nonyuo's way?" Ji Air widened her round eyes, straightened her small back, and began to explain her plan. "Let those troublemaking beggars distribute the porridge to others. If they steal any, punish them severely." This clever little girl was the eldest princess of the Deceiver dynasty, the treasure of Ji Han's heart. After listening, he held the chubby little bundle in his arms, his face pressed against hers, overjoyed. "Worthy of being my daughter. Noonyuo is so smart." He waved his hand and commanded, "Zhong Xiao, quickly bring milk and snacks for Noonyuo." The eunuch immediately replied, "By your command, Your Majesty." Ji Han turned to the Minister of Rights, who was still kneeling below, and said, "Do as Noonyuo says. This is the will of heaven, more important than my decree. You may go." The minister kowtowed repeatedly, wholeheartedly convinced, "I understand, Your Majesty." From then on, because of Ji Air's arrival, Ji Han restrained his violent temper and kept his oath. Suddenly, the little girl gently tugged at his sleeve. She softly asked, "Daddy, did Noonyuo do well?" From that day forward, he never again wantonly killed innocent people. Of course, Noonyuo is our little lucky charm, bringing blessings to the world. This method will definitely work. He gently stroked her head while praising her. Of course, Daddy's Noonyuo is the best. Ji Han looked at his beloved daughter with eyes full of adoration. His dream had finally come true, and the future of Deceiver was bound to be blessed and prosperous. Ji Air nestled in his arms, her bright eyes looking around, quietly listening to the court official's report on state affairs. At this moment, a guard rushed into the hall and knelt down to report, "Your Majesty, General Bai, he has returned triumphantly and has entered the south gate of the imperial city." Ji Han raised an eyebrow slightly, somewhat surprised so soon. As soon as he finished speaking, he quickly rose and announced in a loud voice, "All officials, follow me to welcome General Bai's triumphant return." The officials responded in unison, "By your command, Your Majesty." 2 ministers in the back row whispered to each other, "I heard that General Bai is brave and skilled in battle, leading 3,000 elite troops to repeatedly defeat the Yaoxia kingdom." The person next to him agreed, "The soldiers of the Yaoxia kingdom are fierce and brutal, and they can even ride wolves in a battle. General Bai fought hard against the enemy and is truly a deserving hero." The 2 quickly walked out of the hall. The mischievous little girl turned and listened intently. One minister asked curiously, "His Majesty is so happy that he even brought the little princess to personally welcome General Bai." They whispered their speculations. "I wonder what reward His Majesty will bestow upon him this time." Hearing this, the little girl's face fell, thinking of her hidden candy stash, her kind heart thinking, if Noonyuo wants to reward someone, she can only give candy. Ji Han asked with a smile, "Bai, you're back." Bai stepped forward and knelt on one knee, Your Majesty. Nuonuo playfully jumped down. He tried to maintain his composure, replying, "You've had a long and arduous journey." The little one opened her arms and quickly rushed towards Bai Yi, shouting, "By Dad, long time no see." The old general smiled kindly and replied cheerfully, "Greetings, Princess." Bai Yi was the vanguard general of the Qi and also an old friend of Ji Yihan. The little girl generously took out a bag of candy and handed it over. Ji Yihan felt a pang of jealousy and cleared his throat, announcing, "Bai Yi, I have prepared a welcoming banquet at the Four Gods Hall. Return to your residence to rest first and attend the banquet tonight." The man stood up, his eyes gleaming. He nodded and said, "Your Majesty, in addition to the Xia Kingdom captives, I have also brought back something else." Hearing this, Ji Yin narrowed his eyes slightly and asked, "What is it?" As he spoke, the man tightened his grip on the black cloth beside him, his expression solemn. He cautioned, "Your Majesty, Your Highness, please step back a little." Bai Yi frowned, his eyes sharp as knives. He said in a low voice, "The thing inside is said to be extremely ferocious." Hearing this, the little girl's eyes widened. She hid behind her father, feeling a little uneasy. She seemed to sense a strange aura, one that couldn't be ignored. Jiyu Yihan, the crown prince, and the court officials below were all filled with anticipation, curious about what was inside. The surrounding soldiers also gripped their weapons, vigilant and on guard. At this moment, the black cloth was pulled away, revealing an 8-year-old boy in an iron cage. The boy struggled desperately. His face was dirty, but his features were delicate and handsome. It was clear that he would grow into a strikingly beautiful man. From the corners of his eyes to his eyebrows and chin, he exuded an air of heroism. Ji Yunul was stunned. Her star-like eyes widened, filled with surprise as she looked at him. The light in her eyes gradually brightened. "What a beautiful brother," she said, then without any fear, ran directly towards him. Seeing this, everyone exclaimed, "No, little princess, you can't go over there." But the little girl ran quickly, her small, plump figure already near the iron cage. Excitedly, she grabbed the bars with her small hands. The little girl stood on tiptoe, tilting her head as she looked at the boy who was much taller than her. "Pretty brother, you're so handsome." Ji Yunul smiled sweetly, her eyes curving into crescents. She asked softly, "Aren't your feet cold?" Hearing this, the boy looked down at his feet, then slowly looked up at the chubby little girl standing in front of him. He looked down at her, his hands angrily clenching the bars beside him. He pursed his lips, not saying a word, seemingly unwilling to pay attention to Ji Yunul. But the little girl wasn't discouraged. She softly asked, "You must be hungry, right?" Suddenly, she held out a piece of candy with both hands and said happily, "This candy is really delicious. Try it." The boy's fingertips trembled slightly. Then, he slowly reached out his hand. This scene caused Jiyu Yihan's face to darken. He shouted in alarm, "Noel, come back." But the eunuch stopped him. "Your Majesty, you mustn't. Be careful." The boy took the candy, put it in his mouth, and slowly chewed and swallowed, as if he had never tasted such a delicious treat. The indifference in his eyes gradually turned into a hint of surprise. He took another bite, his expression seemingly enjoying it. Ji Yunul leaned against the cage and asked, "Is it good?" She happily handed him a few more candies. "There's more here." At this moment, the prisoner in the iron cage had somehow broken the iron chain on his wrist. The little girl didn't understand what was happening, only widening her eyes in surprise. He lunged at Ji Yunul, his face stunning Pao Xiao with a ferocious roar, "Little girl, die with me." Everything happened in a flash. The little girl stood there die-dug, staring blankly at the huge dark shadow behind her. The enemy soldier gripped his long sword and charged towards the little girl, roaring, "If I can kill the enemy princess before I die, I will not fail His Majesty's trust." At this moment, Ji Yian's eyes were bloodshot. He shouted, "Null." Bai Yi also cried out in alarm. Princess Ji Yunul didn't have time to react, only staring blankly ahead. The imperial guards and the court officials were all terrified. Suddenly, the boy in the iron cage reached out a hand and, unexpectedly, shoved Ji Yunul away. Because of the boy's action, she narrowly avoided the soldier's attack. The soldier gritted his teeth and roared. She fell to the ground, whimpering in pain. At the same time, the boy's other hand shot out with lightning speed. He tightly gripped the Yin Xia kingdom prisoner's neck. The prisoner's eyes rolled back in his head. His whole body trembled violently, bones cracking. He screamed in agony, "Ag, ag." The boy, handsome and cold, said in a low, dangerous voice, "You're courting death." Ji Yunul was terrified and covered her eyes. When the surroundings suddenly became quiet, she slowly opened her eyes. The boy casually released his grip, tossing the prisoner aside like trash. Ji Yihan rushed over anxiously and shouted, "Null." He picked her up and patted her back. "Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Daddy's here." He gritted his teeth and ordered, "Feed all these soldiers to the dogs." The little girl in his arms worriedly pulled back her chubby little arms. "Daddy, no. Don't kill them," she suggested. "Let them clean the latrines." All right. The surviving prisoners were stunned. One of them struggled to shout, "We are warriors of Yinxia. Our mission is to charge into battle. Your Majesty, you might as well kill us rather than make us clean latrines." Ji Yihan's lips curled into a sneer. "So, you're all very capable, are you? Then go clean the latrines." After everything was settled, he pointed at the boy and asked, "Bai Yi, what's the story with this kid?" General Bai Yi stroked his chin, his voice filled with barely concealed pity. "Your Majesty, I heard that Yinxia's method of training assassins is extremely cruel. They throw children into packs of wolves to fight. This child was discovered while pursuing enemy troops. He might be the Wolf King who can command the wolves." The boy in the iron cage remained exceptionally silent. He ordered, "I see. Keep him for now." Before he finished speaking, Ji Yunul tugged on Ji Yihan's sleeve and cried, "Daddy, Daddy." The little one's bright eyes were full of pleading as she softly begged, "Daddy, let little Gyuliki go. He saved Null, and we should repay him. If Daddy doesn't agree, Null won't talk to Daddy anymore." She tried her best to act cute and endearing. Ji Yihan looked at the boy, his gaze cold and deep, his thin lips pressed into a tight line. Worried that the boy might hurt someone, he didn't agree, his expression thoughtful. Ji Yunul immediately started to cry and laugh, and he helplessly ruffled her hair, ordering, all right, Bai Yi, open the cage." He looked down at the little darling in his arms, her watery eyes melting his heart. "My daughter is too adorable." The boy came out of the cage, his feet bare. His fair feet were covered in wounds. The iron chains were unfastened and fell heavily to the ground. The boy looked around, as if surveying the entire palace. Suddenly, someone called out, "Little Gyuliki," startling him. The little one stretched out her chubby little arms and waved. "Thank you, big brother, for saving Null." She added sweetly, "Null will bring you candy tomorrow." Seeing that the boy hadn't hurt anyone, Ji Yihan said, "Bai Yi, for saving Null, I've decided to let him go. From now on, this child will be under your tutelage. But remember, if he hurts anyone, you will also be held responsible." Bai Yi was startled by this sudden burden and cupped his hands in response. "Yes, Your Majesty. I will certainly not fail you." Ji Yihan nodded, holding Ji Yunul and turning to leave. The little darling nestled against her father's shoulder, smiling like a little white ball of fluff, waving goodbye to the boy. Finally, her childish voice drifted away with the wind. "Okay, taking a change into some clean clothes. Big brother, remember to wear shoes." They walked far away, their figures gradually disappearing from sight, but the boy's gaze followed them, his expression cold and handsome. Bai looked at the boy in front of him and asked, "Let's go. What's your name?" "If you don't have a name." Before he could finish, the boy replied curtly and coldly, "Yasmin." After speaking, he walked forward on his own. Bai hurried to catch up, somewhat annoyed. "Hey, don't wander off. This kid is really strange." He paid no attention, but a small smile crept onto his lips as the image of the little girl appeared in his mind. Ji Yunul, what a beautiful name. 5 days later, the land was covered in snow, a vast expanse of white. It had snowed heavily last night, and it was so cold that ears were turning red. Everyone just wanted to find a place to hide from the biting wind. But within the Qiushui Palace, the maids were incredibly busy. Even the Department of Internal Affairs had sent many palace maids and eunuchs to help. "The princess is missing. Go find her." A maid, holding tea, reported in a low voice, "Please rest assured, your ladyship." Wanine added, "Wanine has already gone to look. The little princess won't go far." But at this moment, Consort Xiao's expression was anxious. Her slender, jade-like fingers tightly clutched her handkerchief as she urgently said, "That child, how could she run off on her own? Weren't you watching her? Send more people to look for her, but don't make a fuss. If His Majesty finds out the princess is missing, he will certainly be furious." The birthday banquet was only an hour away. Missing the banquet was a small matter, but if something happened to the princess, heads would roll. Everyone was searching for the little princess, Ji Yunul, while the little darling was standing behind a small tree by the lake. Today, Ji Yunul was wearing a little red cotton-padded jacket and a pair of cute white boots. The little one hid behind the tree, peeking her little head out. "Haha, I think I hear a girl's voice." Her small hands clenched nervously, her gaze fixed on the two figures by the lake. They were two girls, about 5 years old. The two girls had caught a kitten and were pushing it into the water, pinching its neck. Even from a distance, Ji Yunul could hear the kitten's whimpers, its cries gradually weakening, its breathing becoming faint. The two girls, dressed in brocade and silk, wore savage smiles. Ji Yunul heard one of the girls say, "I'm tired of playing with it. Anyway, cats have 9 lives. Let's break the ice and throw it in." Ji Yunul's eyes widened. The two girls had thrown the poor kitten into the water as if it were a stone. The little girl clenched her fists tightly and whispered angrily, "The kitten is in danger." A flash of lightning sparked in her eyes. With no other choice, Nuar had to use her ability. The calm surface of the lake suddenly erupted as several jets of water shot towards the two girls. Their clothes were instantly soaked, and they screamed in terror, "A monster! There's a monster in the lake! Mother, help!" They ran away as fast as their legs could carry them. After the two were gone, the little girl emerged from behind the tree and approached the lake, asking worriedly, "Kitten, are you all right?" She extended her small, delicate hand and gently stroked the poor kitten. "Kitten, it's all right now. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid." Soothed by her touch, the kitten gradually revived, letting out a meow. Its ice blue eyes held a trace of fear and wariness as it looked at Ji Yunul. Suddenly, as if startled, it leaped from her arms. It scrambled up a tree by the lake and perched on a branch, shivering and refusing to come down. Meow. Ji Yunul stood beneath the tree, tilting her head and blinking her large, round eyes. She spoke softly to the kitten, "Don't be afraid, kitten. Nuar will save you." Saying this, the little girl started climbing, using both hands and feet, muttering to herself. But the kitten kept dodging her, refusing to come closer. Before long, Ji Yunul had reached the top of the tree. The branch was only slightly thicker than a child's arm, yet had to bear the weight of both a cat and a child. As she inched closer, the little white cat looked down at the lake below, then back at Ji Yunul, climbing nearer, trembling even more violently. Just then, a shout came from the surroundings. "Princess!" The palace maids were anxiously searching. "Princess, where are you?" Princess Ji Yunul was the treasured darling of Consort Xiao and the emperor, and even the palace staff doted on her. Suddenly, the thin branch couldn't bear the girl's weight. With a snap, it broke. The girl's eyes widened in shock, but she didn't have time to react. Her small hands failed to grasp the branch, and she plummeted straight down. The delay of the banquet was a minor matter if something were to happen to the princess. She squeezed her eyes shut, falling headfirst, crying out, "Wah!" If there was a fatality, seeing the little girl safely caught in his arms, he said with a hint of reproach, "If I hadn't come, were you planning to fall straight into the lake?" The little girl in his arms cried out happily, "Big brother." He raised an eyebrow and asked, "What is it?" Her eyes sparkling, she held out a small candy in front of him and said excitedly, "Noon Yuo, just got this from noble consort. This is for you. Thank you for saving Noon Yuo." He looked at the candy in her hand and asked coldly, "Tell me the truth. What happened?" Only then did the little girl remember the kitten-like creature still trapped in the tree. She said worriedly, "Big brother, can you help Noon Yuo? That kitten can't get down, meow meow." He sighed, a mixture of exasperation and affection in his voice. Such a bother. The little girl watched quietly as he gently coaxed the kitten down from the tall tree. He caught the trembling kitten and handed it to the little girl. Looking at the candy in her hand, he was finally swayed and took it. The little girl looked at him with an adorable and expectant gaze. Under that gaze, he put the candy in his mouth, vaguely recognizing the taste. "Isn't this the same as last time?" Watching the little girl skipping around him, he looked puzzled. Huh. Before he could understand what was happening, the little girl suddenly jumped up and straightened his collar. Under his surprised gaze, she gently reached up and plucked a bright red flower from his hair. He asked in surprise, "What's this?" The little girl explained earnestly, "This flower fell on your head when you were saving the kitten." Because of this small gesture, his eyes were filled with affection for the little girl. He suddenly thought of his parents, recalling his father's gentle voice calling him Simon. He remembered the past, his mother smiling tenderly at him, his father affectionately stroking his head, saying, "We have no son. From now on, you are our adopted son." He remembered his father's gentle admonition. "This place is different from your hometown. No one will bully you here. You should also try to change your aloof nature and be closer to others." That warm voice seemed to still echo in his ears. "You have a name now." So he introduced himself in a gentle and proud tone. "My name is Yi Simon." Upon hearing this, Ji-ur exclaimed excitedly, as if a light had been switched on. "Ahem, Brother Simon." The little girl happily left, not forgetting to turn back and wave. "Nuonyuo's going now. See you later." Leaving him speechless, Yi Simon held the small flower in his hand, his eyes filled with tenderness and warmth. He clenched the small flower contentedly and smiled slightly. Elsewhere, the little girl hugged the cat, pouting angrily. Lady-in-waiting Wan Yin tried to persuade her princess that it wasn't a cat, but clearly a white tiger cub sent from the circus outside the palace. A eunuch's voice echoed through the palace. "His Majesty the Emperor has arrived." Hearing this, the little girl cried out happily, "Daddy." Seeing her father's figure enter the palace gates, she toddled towards him, calling out repeatedly, "Daddy, Daddy." But before she could reach him, she tripped and fell. Seeing her fall, Jiu Yihan quickly called out, "Nuonyuo." He hurried forward, gently helped the little one up, and softly asked what's wrong. Who dared to bully Nuonyuo? Looking at the injured little one in his arms, he softly said, "Tell Daddy, and Daddy will have their whole family beheaded." In her father's embrace, the little princess whined, "Nuonyuo wants a kitty." Her mother disagreed, fearing the emperor would truly refuse. The little one immediately put on a pitiful expression, cuddling her white tiger plushie. The emperor's heart immediately softened. "If you want to keep it, keep it." Daddy agrees. She was so surprised she blurted out, "Ah," seeing the emperor dotingly holding the little girl. Consort Xiao hurried forward to explain, "Your Majesty, Nuonyuo has always wanted this white tiger cub, but I'm worried that it will hurt her when it grows up. It's too dangerous, and I really can't agree." Nuonyuo started crying, "And I thought your Majesty should prioritize Nuonyuo's safety." He held her in his arms and gently explained to Consort Xiao, "If Nuonyuo likes it, let her keep it. This white tiger cub has just been born and is not yet wild. It's the perfect time to train it. When it grows up with Nuonyuo, it won't hurt anyone. I also raised a monkey from the western regions when I was young." Tears of happiness welled up in the little girl's eyes as she looked up at him. "Daddy, thank you." The little white tiger plushie in her arms seemed to meow in agreement. Hearing her say this, he gently corrected her, "Good girl. It's thank you, Daddy." He picked her up and carried her out of the main hall. "Let's go. The birthday banquet is about to begin." Consort Xiao sighed helplessly behind them, thinking he always forgets. His Majesty fears nothing except his daughter's tears. A single tear is enough to gain all the love in the world. Scene change. The princess's birthday banquet was being held in the spacious Qiushui Hall, next to the Qiushui Palace where the emperor resided. The hall was vast, decorated with flowers, and bustling with activity. He held her, and Consort Xiao stood by his side. After the concubines and officials had taken their seats, the three of them ascended to the main seats, and the birthday banquet began in a lively atmosphere. He led the little girl to a large table piled high with toys and said gently, "Nuonyuo, choose a gift you like, and we will handsomely reward the gift giver." The crowd below all tried to curry favor. "Princess, my gift was carefully chosen. Please do us the honor." "Princess, choose mine. Choose mine. Mine is the most suitable for you." Suddenly, the little girl's eyes lit up. She stared at a piece of jewelry on the table. Her gaze fell on a lady-in-waiting, standing quietly in the corner of the hall, and she thought uncomfortably, "It's her. It's coming from that lady-in-waiting." She narrowed her eyes with determination, thinking angrily, "You bad thing." Suddenly, she ran over and hugged a nearby pillar. Then she slid down the pillar. The officials were shocked and cried out, "Princess!" Jiu Yihan anxiously shouted, "Nuonyuo, be careful. The little girl stopped in front of the lady-in-waiting in the corner. The lady-in-waiting looked at her nervously and asked, "Little princess, is there something I can do for you?" The little girl pointed angrily at the sachet on the lady-in-waiting's waist and shouted, "Here, there's something bad in here." Seeing her pointing at her sachet, the lady-in-waiting instinctively covered it with her hand and snapped, "Don't touch it." Consort Xiao also grew suspicious. Nuonuo was always well-behaved and obedient and would never cause trouble without reason. She instructed her personal maid, Wan Yin, go see what's in that person's sachet. Wan Yin respectfully replied, "Yes, Your Highness." Suddenly, the lady-in-waiting screamed, "Yes, Your Highness." Then, she grabbed Jiu Nuo with one hand and raised the sachet with the other, threatening loudly, "What I have in my hand is deadly poison. A single drop of blood is all it takes. I'll take this child's life immediately." Jiu Yihan cried out in panic, "Release Nuonuo. You can have anything you want." The lady-in-waiting held the little girl tightly, her eyes distorted with rage as she glared at him, cursing, "Jiu Yihan, you're a cold-blooded and heartless emperor. You don't deserve a peaceful death. I entered the palace to take your life, but I didn't expect to be discovered by this child." Meanwhile, the little girl struggled to hold back, finally closing her eyes, unable to bear it any longer. She sneezed uncomfortably at Chu. Because of this sneeze, the poisonous powder in the sachet immediately drifted out, thickly coating her sleeve. She thought in a panic, "Oh no, how did the poison end up on me?" She realized she had inhaled the poisonous powder and hurriedly covered her mouth and nose, but it was too late. She let out a blood-curdling scream. "No." Then, she shoved Jiu Nuo away and turned to flee. Wan Yin rushed forward to support the little princess. "Your Highness, be careful." Wan Yin reached out her hands to the little princess, pulled her into a tight embrace, and shielded her as they fell to the ground together. Wan Yin shielded the little princess in her arms, completely covering her. The woman was now writhing in agony on the ground from the poison. She vomited blood. The guard stepped forward to protect Wan Yin and carefully brought the little princess to the emperor and consort Xiao. Jiu Yihan held the little princess tightly, his face grim and terrifying. He roared, "How dare you harm my precious daughter?" His eyes were like knives as he barked the order. "Drag this wretch away and grind her bones to dust." Consort Xiao anxiously checked the little princess, only hearing her murmur softly, "Mother, father, I'm all right." The little princess's eyes were clear and innocent as she said, "Nuonuo was well protected. The two of you come here." The court officials looked at each other, whispering, "If the princess hadn't noticed beforehand, I'm afraid. But how did the little princess notice? Could the rumors be true?" They recalled the legend of the Lucky Star and began to speculate. People said that Princess Jiu Nuo was born blessed, but no one knew if it was true or not. That year, the emperor had a strange dream. Heavy snow fell at night, and strange phenomena appeared in the sky. The next day, the plum blossoms in the palace bloomed in full glory, their fragrance lingering for miles. Jiu Yihan, holding the little princess, solemnly declared to the court, "You all have seen it. Nuonuo is indeed a lucky star bestowed by heaven, capable of warding off disasters for me." The emperor, beaming with pride, waved his hand and issued an imperial decree. "I have decided to bestow upon the princess the title Yao Guang on her birthday." The officials excitedly discussed, "With a title comes a fief. This little princess will have a worry-free life." He held the innocent little princess and gently explained, "Yao Guang." His gaze softened as he continued, "Is the nourishment of all things a sign of great fortune, representing the will of heaven." His gaze grew even gentler as he looked at the little princess and asked, "From now on, Nuonuo will be Daddy's princess Yao Guang, all right?" Ji Yunur jumped up excitedly, nodding repeatedly, "Yes. Yao Guang, Nuonuo likes it." He looked at the mountains of jewels and treasures piled on the table and laughed. "I've decided. My daughter can have anything she wants. There's no need to choose anymore." His steps were firm as he commanded, "Reward all those who presented gifts." Seeing this, the officials bowed low and shouted, "Your Majesty is wise." There was jubilation and excitement, while Yi Siming leisurely sipped his tea and quietly observed with the person beside him. Yi Siming sat quietly, thinking, this child is truly impossible to ignore. Yao Guang, huh? At that moment, peach blossoms bloomed within the imperial city, a sight of unparalleled beauty. Noon, October 12th. Inside a tidy little room, a delicate fragrance wafted through the air. Ji Nuo mumbled in her sleep. Delicious. The little princess was sleeping soundly in her bed. Suddenly, a shattering sound came from outside the door. A teacup had fallen to the ground, scattering shards everywhere. The noise startled the little princess awake. She rubbed her sleepy eyes and softly called out, "Mother." There was no answer. The little princess slowly walked out the door. She peeked out, only to see Consort Xiao trembling with fear, thinking to herself, is elder sister's illness really that serious? She saw the maidservants busy cleaning up the broken pieces. Seeing her mother's unease, the little princess tugged on her sleeve and asked, "Mother, what's wrong?" The little princess caught a glimpse of the departing figure, vaguely remembering it was a maid by the empress's side. Consort Xiao looked back at the little princess and apologized guiltily. Did mother wake Nuo up? "I am sorry." She stroked her daughter's head and softly confided. "The empress has been ill for many years. Nuo knows, right? These past few days, her condition has worsened, and mother is very worried about her." The little princess looked at her with clear eyes and asked, "Mother, Nuo is also worried about the empress. Can Nuo go see her with you?" Consort Xiao hesitated for a moment and said, "If Nuo catches the illness, your father will definitely blame me." The little princess shook her head and said to Consort Xiao with bright eyes, "Mother is very worried about the empress. Nuo knows. We'll go secretly, without telling father." Seeing her daughter's determination, she sighed helplessly and gently stroked her daughter's head. "Then we'll only stay for a little while and come back right away." "Okay." Outside Fingy Palace, a cough echoed continuously, cough, cough. Led by Consort Xiao, the three quietly entered the main hall. A maid lifted the curtain, and the empress's voice came from within. "You, is that you?" Consort Xiao's eyes were full of concern. She asked softly, "Lanji, it's me. I brought Nuo to see you." The frail empress lay weakly in bed, mourning. "It's been a while. Look at me. I can't even get out of bed." Worry and confusion surfaced in the empress's eyes. "Why did you bring Nuo here? What if she catches my illness?" "That won't do." Ji Nuo immediately jumped to the empress's bedside and comforted her. "Your Majesty, Nuo will be fine. Don't worry." While everyone was distracted, Ji Nuo quietly activated her ability and whispered to the empress, "Nuo believes you will get better." Their minds seemed to immerse themselves in a fresh, verdant garden, poetic and dreamlike. Suddenly, the empress cried out in pleasant surprise, "My breathing is much easier." She smiled gently, looking at the little girl with affection. "It's wonderful. Seeing Nuo, I feel so much better, somehow. I wish I had a daughter too." Afterwards, the little girl ran off to play in the corner. Consort Xiao went to the empress's bedside to talk and comfort her. "Lanji, the crown prince, is also excellent, just young and a little impulsive. He's often away training and doesn't accompany you much, but news from the border frequently arrives. You don't need to worry too much." The little girl, curious as ever, leaned against the windowsill, peeking outside, thinking how fragrant it smelled. Looking out the window, the little girl suddenly saw a palace maid pouring powder into a teapot. She watched as a large handful of powder went into the teapot used daily. The little girl hurried back inside and anxiously reported, "Mother, your Majesty, there's a palace maid outside putting something in your tea." Consort Xiao was startled and quickly asked, "Who is it?" The empress calmly murmured to herself, "The maid who makes my tea. Isn't that Xinghe, who's always by my side?" Consort Xiao's face darkened. She thought to herself, could that maid be trying to poison Lanji? She abruptly turned and instructed her attendant, Wanyin, take the princess to the lion and tiger garden for a walk. "I need to help Her Majesty with something." The attendant acknowledged the order and, taking Ji Nuo's hand, replied, "Yes, Your Highness." Seeing Consort Xiao's grim expression, the little girl asked worriedly, "Mother, what's wrong?" Wanyin led her away, telling her stories. "Your Highness may not know this, but Consort Xiao and Her Majesty have been good friends for many years." A stern and sharp look appeared in Consort Xiao's eyes, like a thorny rose. "If anyone wants to harm Her Majesty, they'll have to get through me first." The Empress asked worriedly, "Yeyu, what exactly happened?" Consort Xiao replied indignantly, "Lanjiegia, I'm here. Pretend to be asleep for now, and no matter what you hear, don't get up. I'll teach that ungrateful wretch a lesson." Just then, a palace maid entered. Consort Xiao immediately asked, "You're Xinghe, aren't you?" The maid looked panicked and stammered. "Why, yes, Your Highness." She raised a finger, signaling the maid to lower her voice. "The Empress is resting. Come here, I have something to ask you." Meanwhile, Jiyu Nuonyuo whined. "Wanin Jiejia. Nuonyuo wants to see father." The palace maid beside her tried to dissuade her. "His Majesty is in the imperial study attending to state affairs, Your Highness." Before she could finish, the little girl, tears welling in her eyes, tugged at her sleeve and pleaded, "Mother went to get even for the Empress, but Nuonyuo is worried about Mother, afraid something will happen to her." Sob. "Wanin Jiejia, let's go find father." The palace maid, bewildered by the little girl's persistence, didn't know what to do. Without thinking too much, Wanin picked up the little princess and headed straight for the emperor. "Don't worry, Your Highness, we'll see His Majesty soon." They arrived at the imperial study. Suddenly, Jiyu Nuonyuo burst into the room, crying, "Sob, father, help, father, help." The room instantly fell silent. Hearing his beloved daughter crying, Jiyu Yihin's face darkened, and he asked with a terrifying expression, "What happened?" With that, he slammed the memorial to the throne he was holding onto the floor in front of the assembled officials. He reached out without hesitation and picked up the little princess. "Why is my Nuonyuo crying?" The little girl sobbed and reached out to hug him. "Father, someone wants to hurt Mother and Nuonyuo." Hearing this, his eyes suddenly became cold and sharp as knives. She pointed ahead accusingly. "It's that bad palace maid next to the Empress." Jiyu Yihin soothed the little girl and asked, "The Empress's maid wants to harm my Nuonyuo." He frowned and comforted her in a low voice. "Don't be afraid, Nuonyuo. Whoever dares to hurt you." Jiyu Yihin held the little girl in his arms and glanced at Wanin. "Explain," he ordered. Wanin clasped her hands respectfully. "Your Majesty, the little princess discovered someone poisoning the Empress's medicine. Consort Xiao is currently interrogating the servants in the Empress's palace." He said coldly, "A bunch of maids. They truly don't value their lives." Jiyu Yihin decisively commanded, "Tell Consort Xiao there's no need for interrogation. Just kill them." Nuonyuo's eyes widened in surprise. Suddenly, the little girl reached out a chubby hand and gently patted his cheek. Amused by his little darling's cute gesture, his voice softened. He repeated, "Tell Consort Xiao there's no need for interrogation. Just kill them." Nuonyuo's eyes flickered with worry. She asked in a small voice, "Is she a martial arts expert?" He paused, considering. Her movements were very practiced. It seems this isn't the first time. There might be something else behind this. Jiyu Yihin held Nuonyuo's small hand in his palm and said with a smile, "Nuonyuo is a good child. Daddy knows. Go play somewhere else with Wanin. Daddy will go check on your mother." The little girl obediently left with the maid, while he turned and walked away, his heart filled with rage. How dare they make Nuonyuo cry like that? Jiyu Yihin coldly ordered, "Prepare the palanquin. I'm going to Fingy Palace." She made Nuonyuo shed so many tears. I want her to pay with her blood. At that moment, the atmosphere in Fingy Palace was extremely oppressive. Consort Xiao rested her chin on her hand, coldly scrutinizing Qinghe. "If you insist this tea isn't poisoned, that I've wronged you, then prove it yourself." But as the teacup neared her face, Qinghe trembled with fear. "No, no." She suddenly lost control, throwing the teacup to the ground. "I won't drink it." The poisoned tea and broken shards scattered across the floor. Consort Xiao snapped, audacious. "You still dare defy me? Speak. What did you put in it?" Qinghe's eyes welled with tears, her body shaking as if she were about to collapse. Consort Xiao pressed her. "Who ordered you to do this?" Suddenly, a eunuch's voice announced, "His Majesty has arrived." Consort Xiao's face lit up, while Qinghe turned around in a panic. She immediately turned the tables, pretending to be the victim, crawling to Jiyu Yihin and crying, Your Majesty, save me." Consort Xiao was momentarily speechless. Qinghe, mustering her strength, clutched his dragon robe and accused, "Your Majesty, Consort Xiao forced me to put slow-acting poison in the Empress's tea every day. She discovered I was unwilling, afraid to do it, and she wants to kill me to silence me. Please, Your Majesty, save me." Jiyu Yihin asked coldly, "You say Consort Xiao ordered you to harm the Empress?" Qinghe lied, without changing her expression. "Yes, Your Majesty." She pretends to be friends with the Empress, but in reality, she has always coveted the Empress's position. Qinghe acted extremely pitiful, clinging to his robe and wailing, "Your Majesty, you must uphold justice for me." But after waiting for a long time, The emperor remained silent. She looked up in despair. Ji Yihin's expression was calm, even showing a hint of amusement. Interesting. Consort Xiao goes to great lengths to poison the empress. Yet it's the little princess who comes to me for help. This is truly the most amusing thing today. Qinghe's face instantly paled. Everyone in the palace knew, no one dared to forget, that the empress and consort Xiao were like sisters and would never fight for power. Qinghe had completely lost her way out, isolated and helpless, unable to sow discord. Finally, the others dragged her away. Ji Yihin instructed, interrogate her thoroughly. Tomorrow, bring all the consorts to watch the interrogation. If anyone shows fear, you know what to do. Consort Xiao acknowledged, I understand, Your Majesty. Elsewhere, in the Imperial Garden, a huge black bear was caged. Wanyin held the little princess, her expression uneasy. This creature is too frightening. Princess, shall I take you to see the little rabbits? Suddenly, the little girl's eyes lit up, pointing ahead and asking Wanyin, Sister Wanyin, that bear looks unwell. Is it hungry? Can we get it some meat to eat? The maids immediately sprang into action. Gializi quickly fetched some meat. Her Highness wants to watch the bear eat. Gializi hurried off to prepare. Right away. Please wait a moment, Your Highness. Nuonuo bit her nails, worriedly looking at the cage. All right, Wanyin reported. Princess, Gializi has gone to get the meat. Let's wait a little longer. But somehow, the little girl had already toddled to the front of the cage, facing the large black bear, and said gently, Bear, good bear, Nuonuo will help you. The maids were terrified, nervously reminding her, Princess, the black bear is dangerous. At this moment, Yi Siming suddenly appeared behind them, reassuringly patting Wanyin's shoulder. It's all right. Leave it to me, he said calmly. Wanyin stammered, Young Master Yi, what are you doing here? The black bear slowly approached the little girl, and the little princess continued to smile. Bear. The black bear suddenly opened its large mouth, drooling, as if it were about to swallow Nuonuo whole. Just then, a commanding voice rang out, Don't move. The black bear instantly became still. It slowly closed its mouth. Yi Siming stared coldly at it, his eyes bloodshot, and transmitted his thoughts. I told you not to move, didn't you hear me? The black bear, terrified by his aura, trembled and retreated repeatedly. Ji Yunor, seeing him arrive, turned and called out happily, Brother Siming. Yi Siming gently ruffled the little princess's hair and scolded. That was dangerous. The round-faced little girl pouted and started to act spoiled. Humph. Wanyin breathed a sigh of relief. That scared me to death. Why is young Master Yi here? Xiao Lizi, carrying some things, interjected, General Bai brought young Master Yi over today, saying he wanted to test his ability to tame wild beasts. The little girl anxiously tugged at Yi Siming's sleeve and said, Brother Siming, Grumpy Bear is in pain. There's something stuck in the fur on its neck. Hearing this, his heart skipped a beat. She noticed it again. The malice that others can't see, the pain of animals, she always perceives it. He waved to the little girl, Stay here and don't move. Then he turned and ordered Xiao Lizi, You, open the cage for me. Xiao Lizi warned him timidly, Young Master Yi, that black brute is very dangerous. His eyes icy. He gripped the iron bars tightly and said calmly, Don't worry. Yi Siming's pupils turned blood red, and he continued confidently, I have my own way of subduing it. He began to approach the black bear. The black bear let out a low growl, the sound piercing. Just then, the little girl quietly activated her ability, muttering, Siming won't let anything happen to you. She closed her eyes tightly, concentrating intently. You'll be all right. He gently soothed the black bear. I just want to see what's wrong with your neck. He stared at it with blood-red eyes and commanded, Don't move, don't make a sound. Be good. Yi Siming finally discovered the foreign object on its neck. It was a broken arrow. No wonder it was so agitated. He pulled the arrow out without hesitation. He walked outside and seriously asked the little girl, Ji Yunor, you were right. How did you know there was an arrow in its neck? The little girl immediately waved her chubby little hand at him. Brother Siming, come here quickly. He bent down curiously and asked her, What do you want to say? Suddenly, the little princess's expression changed. She smiled brightly, patted his head, and praised, Brother Siming, you're such a good person. He widened his eyes in surprise at this sudden action, while the little girl giggled uncontrollably. Thank you for helping Nor and Grumpy Bear. Faced with her praise, he froze, subconsciously touched his forehead, his cheeks flushed, his heart pounding as if it would jump out of his chest. He repeated in a low voice, a good person. Yi Siming narrowed his eyes, his heart stirred. Someone actually sees me this way. He looked up at the roof alertly, as if he had sensed something. The sound was too obvious. He turned and declared, someone was here just now. Suddenly, he grabbed Xiao Lizi by the collar and demanded, besides me, who else has entered the training grounds today? Xiao Lizi's mind went blank with fright, and he stammered, responding to young master. Only this little one was on duty at the lion and tiger enclosure today. Everyone else was resting, and no one else came. Seeing that he couldn't get any more information, he released Xiao Lizi, glanced at the little princess, and then strode away, scaring Wan Yin into hurrying after him. Young Master Yi, what's wrong? He whispered to him, we're being watched. I think someone means us harm. Be careful. Wan Yin's eyes widened. Young Master Yi, are you serious? Little Noor covered Wan Yin's mouth with her chubby little hand and comforted him. Brother Wan Yin, don't be afraid. Her eyes sparkling, she bravely declared, Noor will protect you. The palace attendant, moved to tears, hugged the little girl tightly, thinking gratefully, the princess is so young and already knows how to protect me. She's so precious. At this moment, Noor suddenly exclaimed, Brother Wan Yin, you're hugging too tight. Yi Siming watched this heartwarming scene from the side with a helpless expression and suggested, why don't I escort you back? Let's go. They quickly hurried back to the Autumn Water Palace. Suddenly, a group of imperial guards, holding long spears and solemn as gods, appeared ahead. Wan Yin, holding the little princess, assessed the situation and asked, why are the imperial guards here? Could it be? Yi Siming closed his eyes and said in a low voice, I'll leave you here. Farewell. The palace attendant secretly smiled to herself, pondering Yi Siming's thoughts. I must thank him properly. Noor waved goodbye. Brother Siming, goodbye. Back in her own palace, the little girl ran over on her short legs and shouted, Mother, Noor is back. Is Imperial Concubine Mother all right? Imperial Concubine Mother replied happily, I'm fine. Everything has been taken care of. But for safety's sake these next few days, Nono must be good and not run off on her own, understand? Wan Yin bowed and reported, Your Highness, this servant has brought the little princess back. Young Master Yi was taken in by General Bai. He said someone was following us with malicious intent. Consort Xiao's expression remained unchanged as she embraced Nua Air and softly instructed, General Bai's adopted son is indeed meticulous. I understand. You may leave. Consort Xiao's face suddenly darkened. She thought, Qing, he will eventually confess under torture, but what if she calls out my name before she does and Nua heirs as well? I'm worried this is a bad omen. Her expression grim. She fell into deep thought. First, I have to find a way to injure Lang Yu, who is so audacious as to lay hands on my daughter. Late at night, both Ji Nua Air and Consort Xiao were sound asleep. Suddenly, the little girl woke up and opened her eyes. The wind howled outside the window, sending a chill through her. She noticed the window was wide open and wondered, how is the window open? Quietly and carefully, she pulled the blanket higher, covering her mother. Mother will catch a cold, she thought. Then, using her long, 5-foot legs, she climbed out of bed and slammed the window shut with a bang. Suddenly, she sensed a surge of black energy and exclaimed, this energy. She frowned in disgust. That annoying thing again. Just then, an arrow whizzed through the air, aimed directly at Ji Nua Air's heart. Her eyes widened in shock, but she had no time to react. Just as the weapon was about to strike, something hard blocked it, creating a loud clang. Consort Xiao gritted her teeth and angrily rebuked, shameless assassin. You won't harm my daughter. She bravely shielded the little girl, her voice sharp with warning. Have you heard of Qiao Renshan of the Zhengguo Duke's mansion? He's a peerless swordsman. I am the Duke's legitimate daughter. Nua Air's eyes widened in surprise, and she instinctively gripped the jade rui in her hand. She charged forward without fear, her movements too quick for the assailant to counter. The assassin was startled. Zulfast, it truly is the Qiao family swordsmanship, he thought. Ji Nua Air seized the opportunity to slip away and hide her small body. She remembered Wan Yin telling her, the rui here is the sword your mother used to carry. Her swordsmanship is renowned throughout the land, but she has put it away now, not wanting to hurt the princess. Hidden in a safe place, the clever little girl thought, Wan Yin didn't lie to me. Mother really is amazing. She peeked out her small head, her bright eyes observing the scene. Consort Xiao, with valiant grace, swiftly injured the assassin with the rui. The assassin coughed incessantly, blood gushing from his mouth. Clutching his chest, he desperately tried to escape, cursing inwardly. Damn it. I should have asked for more silver if I knew it would be this difficult. Consort Xiao gave him no chance to flee. She slowly approached, pointing the Rui at him. Tell me who sent you, and I might spare your life, she threatened, attempting to negotiate. I can let you live. But the assassin, surprisingly loyal, repeatedly shook his head. Even if I told you, what then? Consort Xiao didn't hesitate, pressing the Rui against his neck until a few drops of blood appeared. Panic seized the assassin. I'm done for. I messed up. I didn't investigate the situation properly. Suddenly, he stopped, his gaze fixed on something. The little girl, hidden under the table, called out cheerfully, Uncle, if you agree to tell Mother, you can get even more silver. No matter how much it is, we can double it. Despite the tempting offer, the assassin stubbornly shook his head. There are rules in the Jianghu. I cannot reveal my employer. If I fail the mission, I'll die anyway. Kill me if you must. Consort Xiao was astonished. Negotiate a price, and then double it. Who taught this child to be so extravagant? She wondered, frowning. Jianu Air quickly came up with another idea. Then we won't ask for information. We'll just hire you to assassinate the person who wants to assassinate us. How about that? The assassin's eyes widened in disbelief. He had never encountered such a bizarre situation in his life. Consort Xiao smiled faintly, her voice a gentle threat. Assassinating an imperial consort is a capital offense. If I hand you over to the emperor, he will surely torture you until you confess. She added, seizing the opportunity, your only way out is what the princess suggested. If you can truly kill the other party, I will definitely help you escape. He hesitated, clutching his chest and thinking, I've killed countless people, but this is the first time someone has bargained with me to kill my employer. Consort Xiao happily went to the little princess's side, stroking her affectionately. Is there a better option? Suddenly, the assassin burst into laughter. Ha! The princess is truly clever. I admire you. Catching them off guard, he snatched the Rui from the floor and, with the agility of a squirrel, darted out the window. Before leaving, he sneered, your lives are worth more than 1,000 taels. Silence fell as Consort Xiao and Zhou Nor stared blankly at the departing figure. Consort Xiao frowned slightly, her face full of confusion. She summoned her shadow guard, Zhang Sui. He appeared instantly, responding, your subordinate is here. She commanded, follow that assassin and see which palace he enters. Zhou Nuar's eyes widened as she added, don't arrest him. Wait until he leaves, then quickly chase him towards the patrolling imperial guards. With agile movements, Zhang Sui leaped out the window in pursuit. As you command. Just then, Wanning rushed in, flustered. Your Highness, what happened? I thought I heard voices. Consort Xiao, her expression calm, replied lightly, it's nothing, just an assassin. The young palace maid's eyes widened in fear at the word assassin. An assassin. I'll go find the guards. Zhou Nor smiled reassuringly. Don't be afraid, Sister Wanning. Mother and I have arranged a little show. Wanning looked bewildered, rubbing her chin as she muttered, an assassin. A show. Her Highness isn't even surprised, and the little princess. The little girl yawned in her mother's arms, looking sleepy. Seeing this, Consort Xiao asked softly, Noonuo, are you sleepy? Suddenly, the little girl waved her hands in protest. Not sleepy. Nuar wants to watch the show, not sleep. Consort Xiao sighed helplessly, thinking she truly is a child. Meanwhile, in another part of the palace, noble Consort Xiao was pleading desperately. Your Majesty. It was Consort Xiao, kneeling on the ground, her face a picture of pitiful innocence. This concubine truly doesn't know why someone ran from my palace in the middle of the night. I know nothing about the assassin. Emperor Qi Yihong's voice was cold. Empty words. When my guards capture him and question him, the truth will be revealed. Soon, someone reported, Your Majesty, the assassin has been captured. The guards brought the assassin in. Before any questions could be asked, the assassin confessed, turning to point accusingly at Consort Xiao. If your Highness had told me the noble consort was so skilled in martial arts, I wouldn't have been injured and caught. You clearly wanted me to fail in assassinating the noble consort, to cover up the truth. Consort Zhao's face paled, but she still argued you're slandering me. I never told you to harm the noble consort. Trembling, she cried and pleaded, Your Majesty, this concubine has been wrongly accused. Emperor Qi Yang frowned coldly. The evidence is clear. You still dare to argue. Very well, I'll ask you this. He leaned down and whispered, It's so late. Even I have retired for the night. If you weren't waiting for someone to deliver a message, why would you be dressed so formally at this hour? Consort Xiao was speechless, collapsing to the floor. Meanwhile, in Shoshui Palace, the emperor came to visit Zhong, but she was already fast asleep. Consort Xiao hurried forward to greet him. Your Majesty. He gently helped her up. There's no need for formalities, my dear consort. I didn't announce myself for fear of waking our daughter. I came to make amends for last night's events. Consort Xiao said shyly, Your Majesty is too kind. Neither nor I were injured, and the assassin has been dealt with. He added, Don't worry, Consort Xiao is no longer in the palace. Consort Xiao breathed a sigh of relief, turning to look at her daughter and thought of the empress. This way, no one will try to poison Lan Ji anymore. Just then, Wanning entered to report, Your Majesty, Your Highness, Nanny who is here, waiting for the little princess to wake up. The emperor looked surprised. Nanny who? Consort Xiao explained, Your Majesty, she's the nanny who is to teach Nur etiquette. Still in bed, the little girl broke out in a cold sweat, not daring to move. Nanny who is coming. She pretended to continue sleeping. Consort Xiao said anxiously, She hasn't woken up yet. Please ask Nanny who to wait a little longer. With that, Consort Xiao closed the door and went out. Nur finally dared to sit up, her face filled with worry. No, I absolutely cannot see Nanny who. Looking out the window, her eyes sparkling, she thought, Nur has to find a way to escape. She jumped down from the bed, her little legs dangling. Quickly, she grabbed a pen and wrote a letter to her mother, then swiftly changed her clothes, thinking, I can't let Nanny who catch me. Looking at the finished letter, she smiled with satisfaction. This way, Sister Wanning won't get scolded. With everything ready, she struggled to move a chair to the window, beginning her escape. I absolutely cannot be caught. Yi Siming's handsome face appeared in her mind, and an idea struck her. That's it. I'll go to Brother Siming's house. With that thought, Jionur jumped out the window, her little feet running happily as she thought, He'll definitely protect Noor. In General Bai's residence, Madame Bai exclaimed in surprise, My lord, you brought the princess back. He forced a smile. Let me explain. Before he could finish, a small hand reached out and a clear, childish voice interrupted. Hello, Annie. He recalled the little princess, drenched and covered in pastry crumbs, and her firm suggestion. Noel wants to go to Uncle Bai's house. Can I? Unable to refuse the emperor's precious daughter, he reluctantly agreed. All right, princess. You need to dry yourself first. He scratched his head in exasperation, explaining to his wife, that's how it happened. I couldn't refuse. She waved her hand dismissively with a smile. It's fine. It's a blessing to have the princess visit our home. Meanwhile, Noel looked around curiously, her eyes lighting up as she eagerly asked, Annie, where's Brother Xiaoming? Noel wants to play with him. Mrs. Bai sighed. Xiaoming, he sleeps during the day. He's probably still asleep. His schedule is different from ours. Hearing this, the little girl's face lit up with a smile. Then Noel will wake him up, so he can be like everyone else. With that, she skipped off to find him, ignoring the rain still falling outside. Auntie said Brother Siming was in a secluded part of the front yard, with a large puddle in front. She lifted her skirt, hesitating. If I go over there, I'll get wet. Suddenly, an idea struck her. I've got it. Noel straightened her expression, took a deep breath, and shouted with all her might, Brother Siming. Brother Siming. She thought triumphantly, if I call him out, Noel won't get wet. But after waiting for a while, there was still silence, as if no one was there. The little girl was not discouraged and took another deep breath. She shouted at the top of her lungs, Yi Siming. This time it worked. The door was kicked open by a pair of powerful legs. Yi Siming walked out with messy hair and sleepiness still on his face. He frowned impatiently. What are you yelling about? Seeing his handsome face, she immediately beamed. Brother Siming. As she called out, she didn't notice the puddle under her feet and stumbled about to fall. Noel's eyes widened, her mouth rounded in surprise as she was about to faceplant. Seeing this, Yi Siming flashed forward, arriving just in time to grab her by the collar and pull her up. Noel's eyes sparkled. The little girl excitedly suggested, Brother Siming, take Noel to see your room. Okay. Hearing this, his face darkened, and he reluctantly agreed. Hold on tight. He thoughtfully shielded her from the rain, realizing how light she was. Noel, captivated by his face, reached out and touched his cheek with her chubby little hand. Yi Siming's eyes widened in surprise at her affectionate gesture. At such close proximity, he also smelled a strange fragrance. Just as they entered the room, her stomach rumbled. She clung to his neck, acting coquettishly. "Brother Simon, Noelle is hungry." Yi Simon asked with a deadpan expression, "What do you want to eat?" The mischievous little girl grinned, her eyes crinkling into crescents. "What Noelle makes." Before she could say anything more, Yi Simon picked her up and carried her out of the room. "All right, stop messing around. There's nothing here." After the rain stopped, Yi Simon went outside and picked up a stone. Ji Noelle timidly hid behind the door, poking her head out. "Brother Simon, what are you doing?" He crouched down nervously. "Don't talk." His gaze was sharp. When a moment was right, he abruptly threw the stone upwards. Soon, an unfortunate bird fell in front of Ji Noelle. She cried out in alarm. The bird fell. "What are you doing?" He walked over coldly and picked up the bird. "Didn't you say you were hungry? I'm getting you some meat." Hearing this, the little girl's eyes welled up with tears. "That's so cruel." The poor bird. Yi Simon ignored her and efficiently prepared the bird, casually starting a fire to roast it. "Then don't eat it." The little girl was both angry and curious, peeking from the side, but reason eventually lost her craving. Her mouth watered and her eyes sparkled. The bird smells so good. A trace of guilt remained in her heart. "Poor little thing," Yi Simon said, exasperated. "Have you forgotten what you just said?" After it was cooked, he handed a golden brown bird to her. "Eat." The aroma was overwhelming, and she finally couldn't resist taking a bite. Before eating, she struggled internally. "I'm sorry, little sparrow, but I really want to eat you." With that, she opened her small mouth and tentatively took a bite. Meanwhile, in the imperial palace, Chi Han flew into a rage upon learning that his precious daughter had run away, demanding to know what had happened. He held the note she left behind, repeatedly asking, "Who is Nanny who? Where did the princess go?" The palace maids were so frightened that none dared to look up and answer. Consort Xiao stood thoughtfully behind him and explained, "Nanny who was the princess's first tutor. She used to be so attached to her. Why suddenly?" His face hardened as he sharply ordered, "Send someone to find the princess immediately." His anger intensified. He gritted his teeth and muttered, "When she returns, I'll ask her what's going on with her and Nanny Huang." Meanwhile, Ji-Yunur, having eaten and drunk her fill, even let out a satisfied burp. Hugging the blanket, she climbed onto Yi Simon's bed and said contentedly, "I'm so full. Thank you for the delicious roasted sparrows." He crossed his arms and asked curiously, "Aren't you going back?" She mumbled drowsily, "Later. Noir wants to stay with Brother Simon a little longer." Hearing this, his pupils dilated slightly, and he fell into a helpless silence. Suddenly, she leaned against his arm and said softly, "Brother Simon, you're all alone. So lonely." As soon as she finished speaking, she slumped against him and began to snore, drool trickling from the corner of her mouth. He broke out in a cold sweat. Suddenly, she opened her eyes drowsily and said, "Uncle Bai, E and Aunt are Brother Simon's family now too." He broke out in another cold sweat. Gradually, she fell asleep, but continued to mumble, "Families should protect each other. Noir will protect brother." He froze, his face full of surprise. "Protect me." Finally, Ji-Yunur reluctantly boarded the carriage to return to the palace. Bai E sat inside with her and leaned out to instruct, "I will escort the princess safely back to the capital and then return. Everyone else, go ahead and eat." The little girl, her eyes bright, waved goodbye. "Auntie, Brother Simon, Noir is going home. I had so much fun today." Madame Bai also bid her farewell warmly. "Your Highness, come visit again when you have time." Only Yi Simon stood there, his expression gloomy, without saying a word. Seeing this, Madame Bai turned to remind him, "Simon, say goodbye to the princess." But he remained silent. Noir sat in the carriage, excitedly and patiently waiting. After waiting for a long time, Yi Simon woodenly raised his hand and waved. The little girl wasn't sad at all. Instead, her cheeks flushed red as she cupped her hand around her mouth and muttered softly, "Goodbye." She made a cute gesture and blew him a few kisses, making Madame Bai chuckle. The carriage slowly drove away, and Yi Simon turned and left languidly. He quickly returned to his room, pushed the door open roughly, rubbed his forehead, and let out a long sigh of relief. Finally, she's gone. Yi Simon took out a small knife and carefully wiped it with a cloth. After cleaning it, he meticulously returned it to its sheath. Suddenly, he froze, his pupils dilating sharply. A sharp pain shot through his chest, and the image of a red-eyed wolf flashed through his mind. Taming trembled all over, a cold, dark aura emanating from him. He gritted his teeth and growled, "It's happening again." Countless evil spirits swirled around the room, causing him to scream in agony. "It hurts. Are the evil spirits of the Azura realm chasing me again?" Taming thought of Jiu Noir's cute face. "Brother Siming, Noir will protect you." He suddenly thought of something and looked towards the bed. He walked over and, without hesitation, picked up the blanket the little girl had used, clutching it tightly in his arms. Only then did he notice a sweet fragrance on the blanket, Jiu Noir's scent. The terrifying ghostly shadows gradually dissipated, and the evil aura receded along with them. Covered in sweat, he thought, "It actually alleviates the pain." A smile crept onto his lips, as if he had discovered treasure. "It can ease my suffering." Yesiming's mood biriktenet considerably. He lay down and let out a long, relaxed sigh. This little girl is more than just a crybaby in the palace. The next day, Consort Xiao looked at the little girl and asked, "Noir, you must tell your mother what happened today, understand." Noir sobbed as she ate, resting her chin on her hand and asking curiously, "Why don't you want to see Nanny Who? Didn't you used to like her the most?" Chewing on her bread, the little girl mumbled, because last time Nanny Who said Noir ate too much and my tummy was round." The eloquent little girl began to flatter her mother, but that was all made by Mother Consort for Nur. It's Mother Consort's love. Noir could not eat it. Consort Xiao couldn't help but laugh. So that's why. She wiped her daughter's mouth with a handkerchief and then instructed Wan, "Go and call Nanny Who." She added, "Nanny Who is old. Arrange for her to leave the palace." Wan quickly replied, "Yes, your ladyship." Soon, Nanny Who was brought before Consort Xiao. She bowed and said, "This old servant greets your ladyship, greets her highness." Consort Xiao said, "Nanny Who, I was originally planning to keep you for a few more years. After all, the new heir got along very well with you before. But now, considering your age, it's better for you to go home and enjoy your retirement. Noir has grown up now, so you will leave the palace starting today." As soon as she finished speaking, Wan came out carrying a tray of gold. Nanny Who's eyes widened in surprise, and she replied somewhat awkwardly, "Thank you, your ladyship." "Thank you, your ladyship." Consort Xiao turned to her daughter and asked, "Nur, do you have anything to say to Nanny Who?" The little girl silently clenched her small hands. She struggled to suppress her emotions, tightly pursing her lips. Finally, she stood up and said as calmly as possible, "No. Nanny Who, goodbye." After hearing this, Nanny Who kowtowed and said, "Thank you, princess." Outside the palace, Nanny Who's carriage was already prepared. As the guards helped her into the carriage, a shout suddenly came from behind. Nanny Who. Jiu Noir stumbled out, shouting, "Nanny Who." Seeing the little princess run out alone, Nanny Who asked in surprise, "Princess, why did you run out by yourself?" The little girl threw herself into Nanny Who's arms and said excitedly, "Nanny Who, I'm sorry, doesn't dislike Nanny Who." The two embraced tightly, and the little girl continued, choking back sobs, "Nur only wanted Mother to let you leave the palace." As she spoke, the little girl started crying. "Mother wants to go home to see her newborn grandson. Noir knows, but Mother, for Noir's sake, wants to keep you in the palace." Noir could only lie to Mother and say that she didn't like Nanny Who anymore. Nanny Who's heart ached upon hearing this. She wiped away Jiu Noir's tears. The little girl was still sobbing and said with sincerity, "Actually, Noir really likes Nanny Who." Nanny Who smiled with relief. The little girl repeated, "Really likes you." Past scenes flashed through her mind. From the princess's birth, she had always been by her side until the princess learned to walk, and even at night, she was always there to accompany her. They had shared many joys and sorrows together. When the princess was young, she would always gently comfort her. "Don't be afraid, princess. I'm not hurt, as long as the princess is all right." Back in the present, the moment of parting finally arrived. Jiu Noir shouted with all her might, "Nanny Who, you must take care of yourself. Noir will miss you, and you must miss Noir too." Nanny Who couldn't help but shed tears as well. She promised, all right, princess, don't worry. I will watch you grow up." The little girl waved goodbye one last time, Goodbye, nanny who. If there's a chance in the future, Nuar will come to see you. At this moment, Yi Siming witnessed everything from a corner. Inside the magnificent palace, by Yi's voice rang out. The princess is truly intelligent. No wonder His Majesty is thinking of sending her to school. I don't understand why the noble consort specifically requested you to be the princess's guard. Summoning you to the palace today is also for this matter. He stroked his chin and continued, we'll be going to the training ground soon to have the Imperial Guard spar with you. This opportunity was specifically arranged for you by the noble consort. His Majesty and the noble consort will personally observe. I know you don't like interacting with others, but the noble consort's request is indeed too sudden. He then asked, as long as I defeat everyone on the training grounds, it's fine, right? He was somewhat surprised to find that he actually cared about this matter. What did you say? Yi Siming muttered to himself, whispering with anticipation, as long as I defeat everyone, I can go to school with the princess. Seeing that the palace guards were all skilled, Bai Yi's heart tightened. These guys are all experts. I wonder if they will go easy on Xiaoming. He worriedly stroked his chin, thinking, although Xiaoming has some skills, I'm afraid he's still a bit lacking. His expression darkened as he glanced at His Majesty and the little princess. If something happens to Xiaoming in front of His Majesty and the princess, the more he thought about it, the more nervous he became, his fists clenching tighter. Seeing the determination on the faces of those opposite him, he thought, I have to stop this in time. As the sparring reached its climax, Bai Yi shouted, Stop! Stop! This startled Ji Han, the little princess, and even Yin Chi Chun Xiao, who was standing at the side. He angrily rebuked, Stop it all. You can't humiliate someone like this. His Majesty and the princess are watching. Get your foot off him. At this moment, a guard was being pinned under Yin Xiaoming's foot. Groaning in pain, Help! Yi Siming, unafraid, pointed at the guard and accused he started it. Ji Yuner, hearing this, glanced surreptitiously at her father. Snuggling in his arms, she said sweetly, Nur also thinks the guard uncle shouldn't have attacked first, but brother Siming still won. He's so amazing. Ji Han was utterly charmed by his daughter. Patting her back, he echoed her words, Yes, Nonyuo is right. He immediately adjusted his attitude and said, Bai Yi, good job with the training. Bai Yi respectfully replied, Thank you, Your Majesty. I will intensify Siming's training and bring him back in 3 days. The little girl asked with disappointment by Bai, Why 3 days? Can't brother Siming stay with Nuonyuo today? He looked up and answered seriously, Princess, His Majesty has arranged for Siming to be your personal guard and accompany you to school. He will have training in the palace every 3 days. Ji Han gently stroked his beloved daughter's head and said, Of course, Daddy does all this for you. He slowly explained, Without rigorous training and cultivation, how can Yi Siming become the best guard to protect you? The little girl tugged on his sleeve and retorted, Brother Siming is a person, not a beast you raise. She looked at him coquettishly, her eyes sparkling, and Nuar's guard must be someone Nuar likes. Daddy, don't make the guards fight anymore. Let brother Siming stay with Nuar. Ji Han's heart melted at her words. He pondered for a moment, then waved his hand and decreed, Nuonyuo is right. The princess's guard should naturally please the princess. Yi Siming doesn't need further training. He will accompany Nuar from today onwards. Bai Yi tried to dissuade him, Your Majesty, is this really appropriate? He glanced at the youth and added, Siming hasn't learned etiquette yet. Ji Han stroked his chin, completely disregarding the rules. It doesn't matter. I also want to see what kind of person he is. Getting along well with the princess is more important than anything else. If they don't get along, it doesn't need to be a guard. Nuar sat in the emperor's lap, overjoyed, and cuddled him. Daddy is the best. Nuar loves Daddy the most. Since brother Siming is here, let him play with Nuar today. He laughed indulgently. Haha, whatever Nuonyuo says goes. Then he instructed Chun Xiao, Go inform consort Xiao. The last two people were stunned. The princess was truly impressive. Bai Yi, somewhat worried, leaned close to the youth and whispered, Siming, did you hear what His Majesty said? He was sweating profusely and winked at the youth. Little ancestor, don't say you're unwilling now. Suddenly, Yi Siming, still with a cold expression, asked, I am to stay by the princess's side today. as her guard, accompanying her. Correct. Then he bowed and accepted the order. Your servant obeys the decree. This made Bai Yi, Yin Shi, and Chun Xiao breathe a sigh of relief. Bai Yi still couldn't believe it and leaned in a whisper. Are you really okay with this? Aren't you the one who hates being around people the most? The youth frankly replied, Indeed, I do. Then he added half-jokingly, But the princess helped me before, and I don't want to owe anyone. After arranging everything, the emperor picked up the little princess and left. The little girl didn't forget to turn her head and playfully stick out her tongue. Ji Ihan smiled for the first time, thinking that although he didn't know how she did it, she could truly help him suppress the gloom in his heart. The more he thought about it, the more excited and strange he felt. Ji Yunuar walked slowly, still feeling somewhat resentful, although she was reluctant to admit it. The thought of someone other than herself protecting her by her side made her particularly unhappy. Suddenly Nar exclaimed, ah, and then sneezed at Chu. Consort Xiao asked worriedly, Are you cold, Noonuo? The little girl quickly waved her hand. No, but I'll be warm when I play with Brother Simon later. Mother, where are we going? Consort Xiao said gently, Mother will take you to see the empress. Ji Yunuar asked considerately, Is the empress feeling better? Consort Xiao replied, Not yet, so she needs a new maid to take care of her. Noonuo is a lucky star. Help Mother choose a blessed maid for the empress. We absolutely cannot choose the wrong person this time. Okay. The little girl's eyes widened like headlights, and she excitedly agreed. Okay, Mother, but you have to give Noonuo 2 candies when we get back. Consort Xiao lifted the curtain and carried her out, teasing, Noonuo wants to eat candy again. The little girl quickly explained, No, Noonuo wants to save them for Brother Simon. He treated Nuar's injury last time. Consort Xiao glanced at Yi Siming behind them and inwardly praised. This child is so obedient, following the carriage for so long without any complaint. Meanwhile, in her mother's arms, Ji Yunur was almost drooling, murmuring, Last time we went to Father Bai's house, Brother Siming even treated Noir to roasted bird. It was so delicious. Suddenly, the little girl looked ahead and asked with wide eyes, Mother, who is that? Consort Xiao explained, That is the head eunuch bringing the maids to be selected for the empress. Your ladyship. Consort Xiao walked up the steps with her daughter when suddenly her hairpin slipped, causing her to cry out, Ah! Yi Siming saw it as he walked behind, but he hesitated to catch it, and the hairpin fell to the ground, shattering into pieces. Consort Xiao hugged her daughter tighter, worriedly saying, This is not a good omen. At this moment, a maid stepped forward and picked up the broken pieces of the hairpin. She earnestly pleaded, Your Highness Consort Xiao, please bestow this auspicious hairpin upon this servant. Consort Xiao asked in surprise, The hairpin is broken, a bad omen. How can you say it's auspicious? The maid clutched the broken hairpin to her chest and cleverly replied, The hairpin broke, taking the bad luck with it, leaving only your highness's good fortune. I beg your highness to bestow this good fortune upon me. Consort Xiao looked her up and down, thinking this girl was quick-witted and would surely take good care of Lang Jiji. With this in mind, she turned to her daughter, Nuonuo, which maid do you like? But the more Nuonuo looked at that maid, the more she felt a dark aura emanating from her. She frowned inwardly, certain that this maid was somewhat bad. The little girl looked at the other maids and noticed one surrounded by a spiritual aura. Her eyes lit up, and she pointed, saying Nuonuo thinks that maid in the back is good. The head eunuch whispered in Consort Xiao's ear, Your Highness, that is Lord Lang Mu's daughter. Consort Xiao seemed to recognize her. That's the Mu girl who is obsessed with cultivation and was punished for her martial arts. Just then, Ji Nuonuo toddled down the steps, stood in front of the maid she had chosen, and commanded, Mu Jiji, rise. Yi Siming appeared, looking concerned, causing the maid to say, fearfully, Princess, this servant dare not be disrespectful. She trembled all over, her face pale. Looking up at Yi Siming's stern and cold expression, she wondered to herself, Am I going to be killed? Speaking of which, this Lord Mu was truly obsessed with cultivation, single-mindedly pursuing immortality, and he actually had some skill. Unfortunately, he later fell out with his colleagues and was falsely accused of using dark magic to curse them. As a result, he was labeled a sorcerer and imprisoned for life. The men in his family were sent to the army, and the women became palace maids. It was understandable that Mu Shujin, as a daughter of the Mu family, had kept her cultivation practices hidden deep inside after entering the palace. She was even afraid of Ji Nuonuo, let alone her current situation. Seeing her frightened like a little deer. The eunuch barked, "You dare disobey the princess. Come here." Mu Shujin trembled as she knelt down and kowtowed, begging for mercy. Then the little princess spoke softly, "Stop pretending, Mu Gigi." She leaned close to Mu Shujin's ear and whispered, "You're a cultivator, aren't you?" Mu Shujin was terrified. "Your Highness, how did you know?" "This servant has never revealed her cultivation since entering the palace." The little one giggled. "You have a light around you." Nuonuo knows cultivators have light. You saw it too? Mother chose a maid with bad luck. That kind of person will bring misfortune. She glanced at the maid, thinking, so the princess saw through it all along. Ayun doesn't even know she has a constitution of bad luck. I just want to stay by her side and help dispel some of it. Nuonuo sweetly took Mu Shujin's arm. It seems Mother really likes Ayun Gigi and will probably choose her to serve the empress. Mu Gigi, you should stay too. We can't let bad luck affect the empress. Her eyes sparkled as she persuaded, "Don't you want a chance for your family to rise again and to be an upright cultivator?" These words struck a chord in Mu Shujin's heart. The little princess happily pulled her forward. "Both of you take good care of the empress." Seeing that Nuonuo had spoken, Consort Xiao didn't say anything more. "Send them both to serve the empress. The rest of you withdraw." Watching the chosen maids leave, she thought to herself, Nuonuo rarely takes the initiative. This time there shouldn't be any problems, but it's strange how she took a liking to the daughter of that disgraced official. Suddenly, Wanin rushed in. "Your Highness." Her eyes widened. "The emperor has sent a palanquin to pick up the princess. He says there's an urgent matter. It seems there's a lead in Censor Zhang's case." Hearing this, the little one put her hands on her hips, her face full of excitement. "Daddy needs Nuonuo's help this time. Nuonuo wants 4 candies." Wanin quickly helped Gu Nuonuo into the palanquin. Yi Siming stood to the side, puzzled. "You're the emperor's precious princess. If you think someone is suspicious, why not just tell Consort Xiao directly?" The little girl spoke like a little adult. "Brother Siming, you don't understand. Mother is very good to Nuonuo, but if I speak up, she'll just think I'm a child talking nonsense." She puffed out her little chest proudly. Nuonuo has to maintain her image. Hearing a 3-year-old girl with baby fat on her face say such things, Yi Siming was speechless for a moment and could only tease, "How old are you? And you're talking about image." Pouting her lips and clenching her tiny fists, she declared, "I'm an obedient and sensible princess." Beside her, Yi Siming raised his hands in surrender. All right. The princess is always right. Don't be angry. Come on, let's get in the palanquin." A wave of affection washed over Yi Siming. He thought this little girl was truly tough on the outside, but soft on the inside, just like a little quail. Inside the imperial study, Jiunor held his precious daughter while attending to government affairs. "I originally wanted to take my daughter to the banquet, but she's about the same age as my Nuonuo." The official bowed respectfully. "My daughter wouldn't dare compare herself to the princess, but they are indeed of similar age." Looking at his daughter with adoration, he mused, "I'm thinking, why not let Nuonuo go to the banquet in my place? That way, everyone will be busy trying to please her, and no one will have time to scheme against me." Nuonuo was only 3 years old, but it was time for her to see the dangers of the world. Hearing about fighting bad guys, her eyes lit up like light bulbs. She clenched her little fist and bravely declared, "Nora wants to go fight bad guys with Daddy." "What do bad guys look like?" The official quickly replied, "Your Highness, the Emperor has had me investigating a case these past few days. I've discovered officials buying and selling positions, and wealthy individuals taking the places of scholars from humble backgrounds. I've ascertained that the person selling the positions is connected to the Minister of Justice." She frowned in disgust. "That guy is truly despicable, so cunning. Truly wicked." He added, "There's also a banquet being held soon, with various officials and wealthy merchants invited, including those who bought their positions." Elsewhere, outside the palace, 2 carriages jostled for position. The person in yellow robes angrily stepped out and shouted, "Stop! Which blind fool dares to bump into this young master's carriage?" Inside the other carriage, Yi Siming slowly lifted the curtain. "What a coincidence! Isn't this someone from your residence? This all started half an hour ago." After dealing with Ji Yu Yihan's matter, he personally escorted his precious daughter to the palace gate, watching her go out to play. The little girl excitedly ran to Yi Siming Taming and said cheerfully, Noir has finished Daddy's task, Simon Gidge. Let's go play. He cautioned worriedly, No Nuo, it's snowing today. Don't run too far. The little girl cheered happily. Noir wants to take Simon Gidge to Lion Tiger Mountain to see the little kitties. He asked curiously, what's so special about the cats on Lion Tiger Mountain? The little girl mischievously put a finger to her lips. Sure, let's sneak out of the palace to play. It's much more interesting outside. There are lanterns, lion dances, poetry gatherings, chess-breaking performances, and lots of delicious food. She grew more and more excited. Noor can eat from one end of the street to the other until my tummy is round and full. Yi Siming was speechless, so you just want to go out and eat. The little girl chattered all the way. Simon Gidge doesn't go out often, right? It's very lively outside today. Noir will take you sightseeing until you're exhausted. But don't tell Daddy, and don't tell Uncle Bai, okay? Looking at the little princess's childish appearance, yet mature thoughts, he wondered, who is she really? Is she truly a 3-year-old child? Ji Noor suddenly stopped. Then she reached out her arms coquettishly. Can we sneak out to play, Simon Gidge? Carry me over there. She pouted, as if on the verge of tears, acting spoiled. She lowered her head and said pitifully, Simon Gidge, my arms are sore. Looking at her irresistible expression, he couldn't help but smile. Perhaps I'm overthinking it. She's only 3 years old after all. He said coldly, stop messing around. Then he picked her up and asked which way. The little girl, now in his arms, beamed. Back in the present, the young man sneered, who do you think you are? With your broken-down carriage, you dare approach the imperial palace. This young master wouldn't even bother touching you. Get lost. I could crush you with my pocket change. Inside the carriage, Yu Nuar commented with disdain, this person is so annoying. Yi Siming's face turned cold. Stay put. I'll handle this. The corner of his mouth curled up as he casually kicked out, catching the other man off guard. A cry of ah was heard, and the next moment, the man had splashed into the lake. His underlings panicked. He dared to kick our young master. The dandy floundered in the water, yelling, you, teach him a lesson. The underlings surged forward. Yi Siming remained unafraid, calmly stating, you want to fight, is that it? Yi Siming confidently advised, don't waste time. Come at me together. At this moment, on the bridge near the imperial palace, the group still surrounded Yi Siming, brandishing clubs and shouting menacingly, this kid's gone mad. Someone give him a lesson. Teach him to tremble at the mere mention of the young master's name. But he wasn't afraid at all, even provoking them, let's talk come to me all at once. He was thinking that he had to lure them away from the carriage. Just then, the young master's hand reached out from under the bridge, gripping the wooden planks tightly, and he pointed at the carriage with gritted teeth, ordering, there's someone in his carriage. Get them out. Don't let a single one escape. The scene instantly descended into chaos. Taking advantage of their numbers, they ganged up on Yi Siming. He clenched his jaw in anger and let out a cold snort. One of the reckless lackeys swaggered towards the carriage, pulled back the curtain, and burst into laughter. It's just a little girl. He looked at her delicate, pale hands and said in surprise, well, a little girl. The little girl calmly asked, what business do you have with Novier? A sinister smile spread across the lackey's face as a wicked thought crossed his mind. Little girl, come with me. I'll raise you as my future wife. Not a bad deal, eh? Hearing this, the little girl sighed softly. She gently scolded, you're ugly. Novier will punish you. As she finished speaking, the little girl's fingers twitched slightly, and a wisp of green spiritual energy appeared. The horses outside suddenly became agitated, neighing loudly as if they had gone mad. One of them kicked the man, sending him flying. What? The man landed face first, blood spurting from his mouth. Seeing this, his companions panicked and asked anxiously, what happened? Yi Siming reminded them menacingly, you have time to worry about others. The reckless lackey still hadn't learned his lesson and charged forward with his club. You brat, die. Yi Siming immediately drew his dagger, wounding the man severely. He then kicked the man in the stomach with surprising force, his movements clean and precise, a victorious smile on his face. The bruised and battered lackey trembled all over, begging for mercy. Spare me, hero, spare me. Yi Siming asked coldly, who sent you to harm them? If you don't tell me, kneel and beg, or I'll skin you alive. His gaze was icy as he thought, only I can bully her. The man, terrified, wet his pants and kowtowed desperately. Spare me, hero. I have an elderly mother and young children to support. Suddenly, Yi Siming's vision blurred, and he sensed danger. Not good. The smell of blood filled the air, and a terrifying dark shadow appeared once more. He clutched his chest, pain etched on his face, wondering, the Azura realm again? Am I destined to never escape the shackles of my inner demons? His eyes became vacant, as if he had become a different person. Gripping his dagger tightly, he roared at the man, "Demon, you shall not remain." Yi Siming, consumed by madness, charged forward, yelling, "Die, all of you." But why was the pain in his chest intensifying? He suddenly stopped, catching a familiar scent. Who is it? Her image flashed through his mind. Brother Siming, right? It was Ji Yunuar. He looked at her, his face filled with worry and fear. It's Ji Yunuar. He struggled internally, her image consuming his thoughts. She used to cry even when he killed a sparrow. If Nua saw him killing people today, Yi Siming slowly calmed down, muttering to himself, "I wonder what she looks like when she cries. Strange, I can't bear to see her cry." He returned to his usual handsome self, still puzzled. She's just a little nuisance. With that thought, he grabbed the annoying men by their collars and tossed them aside without hesitation. "Consider yourselves lucky this time. Get out." The young master in yellow was furious, roaring, "You commoner, give me your name. I'll show you what I can do." But he ran away like a coward, cursing all the while, "Bastard. Cowardly bastard. Don't run if you have the guts." Yi Siming crossed his arms and asked calmly, scared now. The little girl replied cheerfully, "Not at all." Brother Siming's moves were so cool. She waved her small hands, mimicking his earlier heroic posture. Novier thinks Daddy doesn't need to make Brother Siming practice martial arts. Bringing Brother Siming out to play is worth it. He couldn't help but chuckle, relieved. "It's not you bringing me out, it's me following you." The little girl pouted. Brother Siming isn't fun at all now. The young master in yellow was still fuming. His subordinate advised, "Young master, let's go back to the residence and change our clothes." But he gave a vicious order, "You follow them. I'll take some men back to the residence and get reinforcements. I don't believe I can't deal with these two brats." The subordinate, his face bruised and swollen, cautiously advised, "Young master, we've just arrived in the capital and aren't used to life here yet. What if we offend some important figure?" Before he could finish, he received a slap across the face. The young master in yellow, looking fearless, arrogantly declared, "What's there to be afraid of? With my father backing me, who dares defy me? I'll beat you all up right now." Meanwhile, Princess Nua finally stopped at a tea house. The little girl excitedly introduced, "Siming, this is Nuar's favorite tea house." The little girl chattered on, "There aren't many people here, but the service is especially warm, and most importantly, the pastries are delicious." Siming understood immediately and chuckled helplessly. As expected, the delicious pastries are the most important thing, right? The little girl feigned ignorance. "I don't understand what you're saying." "Siming, come sit down." Her eyes sparkled as she looked at the menu. "I want a pot of tuwa tea, green bean cakes, and pastries." Nuar wants them all. Children can only choose one, but Nuar wants two of each. The waiter couldn't help but laugh. "All right," Siming thought to himself, speechless. "Aren't you a child yourself?" Suddenly, he glanced out the window, resting his chin on his hand, and asked curiously, "Those people?" Following his gaze, Nuar quickly realized, they're distributing porridge. She proudly spoke of her contribution. "Siming, this was Nuar's idea. I suggested to father that those troublemakers should distribute porridge. This way, they can be reformed." Siming shook his head in disagreement. People who are dishonest at heart, how could they change their nature just by distributing porridge? If it weren't for the soldiers guarding them, I'm afraid they would have even overturned the porridge pots. The little girl said sadly, "Perhaps. It's too far away. I can't see clearly." Nua's eyes lit up as she suddenly had an idea. She said coquettishly, "Siming, let's disguise ourselves as beggars and queue up for porridge." Nua pulled his hand, acting cute. "Siming, come on." Siming hesitated, looking at the adorable little girl suspiciously, wondering how she had become like this. After all, in his memory, Siming's initial impression of her wasn't very good. He had thought that the little princess, pampered since childhood and having never had to do anything, was naive and carefree, understanding nothing of the world. But who knew? This child was so endearing. She wasn't living a life of luxury and ease, but instead, she had been concerned for the common people from a young age. When the waiter finally returned, she ran over excitedly, and the waiter smiled gently, saying, "Everything the little miss wanted is here." Honestly, who wouldn't like such a child? It was at that moment that he changed his original opinion. She even took the initiative to ask the waiter to find these ragged clothes, just for a group of strangers. End of flashback, which explains why they are currently dressed as if they had just crawled out of a garbage heap. The two children blended into the queue for porridge. The person distributing the porridge shouted loudly to maintain order. line up. Everyone line up. Here, Simon muttered, his face full of confusion. This scene was a bit strange. Why were only young people queuing for porridge? The clever little girl immediately said, maybe it's because it's cold and the elderly and children are staying indoors to keep warm. She was dressed too thinly and kept sneezing from the cold, trying to warm herself up. Seeing her pitiful appearance, Simon couldn't help but ruffle her hair. Wait here. With that, he left, and the little girl became anxious. Simon, where are you going? As soon as Simon left, an impertinent man approached, asking with a smile, little girl, why are you and your brother here getting porridge? Where are your parents? The little girl replied obediently, Uncle, our family is having a bit of hard time right now. The man felt a pang of sympathy upon hearing this. But you two are so young. It's not easy to get porridge. It's truly pitiful. No, innocently asked why. The man whispered, the ones handing out the porridge are local thugs. They're used to bullying people and are completely unreasonable. Everyone's afraid of them. No wonder that guy was so fierce at first, and now he still looks unhappy. He keeps cursing. What are you looking at, outsider? Seeing this situation, the man could only shrug. That's why only the young and strong are queuing. The elderly and children don't dare to come at all. Even if they get porridge, it's uncertain whether they can return home safely. The little girl comforted him. Don't worry, uncle. It's a time of peace and prosperity now. The soldiers are here. They will definitely help us. The man smiled and agreed with her. I hope so. He truly hoped so. But more than that, he was leaving it to fate. However, what the little girl said wasn't entirely unreasonable. Just then, Simon returned. What are you talking about? The little girl asked excitedly. Simon, where did you go? Simon lazily tossed something to her. Here. The little girl caught it and exclaimed happily, wow, it's so warm. Hey, nerd, it's your turn. Are you going to take the porridge or not? If not, get lost. The man nervously turned around. By the time he got there, the guy was still cursing at him. I've been calling you for ages. Are you deaf? He mumbled and walked over. As he approached, a gloomy atmosphere filled the air. The people in the dark alley stared intently at them. He silently took it all in. When the line thinned out, the little girl quickly ran over and asked, Uncle, can I have some porridge? The man gave a sleazy smile and teased, Oh, playing cute, huh? Want some porridge? Give Uncle a kiss first. The bowl she held out for porridge was swatted away. The little girl almost fell, and the warm sweet potato he had just given her dropped to the ground. She froze. Yi Siming stood behind, looking at the little princess with confusion, his eyes gradually reddening as he silently stared at the man. In front of everyone, Nua Air suddenly burst into tears, crying and sobbing in accusation. He won't give us porridge, and he's bullying us. Whoa, the sweet potato I saved up for so long is gone. My sweet potato fell. The man angrily raised his fist and cursed viciously. You little brat, still playing the victim. Hungry? How about I give you something even tastier? He said with a lewd grin. Suddenly someone threw a stone, hitting him right on the shoulder. He immediately flew into a rage, yelling, Who's so blind? The man who had spoken to the little girl earlier wasn't afraid at all and retorted, You shameless scoundrel. It's not enough to bully us. Now you're picking on children. He took the lead, and the people next to him joined in the uproar. Yeah, it's so cold. The children brave the wind just for a bit of porridge. You're going too far. Beside them, the little girl was still sobbing, and the boy was comforting her. Hearing the commotion, the soldiers rushed over. What's going on? Trying to start trouble. The man immediately knelt down and begged for mercy, and the commoners could only complain, Officer, please listen to us. The boy embellished the truth, saying they pretend to give out porridge, but behind the scenes, they beat up those who take it. Under the soldiers' questioning, the man finally confessed. No, I won't dare do it again. The little girl had stopped crying, but was still sniffling. The boy led Jiu Nua Air away from the chaotic crowd. Seeing her tear-stained face, he comforted her. Don't cry. I'll buy you a sweet potato. Okay. This was his first time comforting a child, and he was at a loss for what to do. He wondered to himself, what should I do now? But the little girl, who had been crying so hard just a moment ago, suddenly stopped. She slyly said, You're lying. Does Simon Gidge care about Nua Air a lot? He suddenly became dejected. Seeing him quiet and not speaking, it was her turn to comfort him. With all the cuteness she could muster, she said earnestly, Simon Gidge is angry. Nua Air is really sad that the sweet potato is gone. The sweet potato Simon Gidge bought is gone, and the porridge is as thin as water. how can it fill us up? If you're hungry, let's go home. New Air will tell Daddy about this. He picked New Air up and finally agreed. Okay, let's return the clothes first, and then go home. After changing their clothes, the little girl shared some information. The owner said that the house up ahead is the Liu family's. He responded and then suddenly stopped as they approached the courtyard gate. The little girl asked with confusion, Simon Gidge, what's wrong? He paused for a moment. It's too quiet. Something doesn't feel right. Trusting his gut, he said decisively, let's not go. We can return the clothes another day. It's more important to get you home safely. Suddenly, the door opened, and someone greeted them warmly. Young master, young miss, are you here to return the clothes? Please come in. The little girl looked at the person, blinked, and fell silent for a moment, as if thinking about something. Then she whispered to him, Simon Gidge, this person looks like the bad guy Daddy told me about. He understood and asked, Gino Air, what do you do when you meet a bad guy? The little girl giggled. Of course, I punch him down. He asked again, smiling with satisfaction, aren't you scared? New Air replied confidently, with Simon Gidge here, New Air is not afraid of anything. At that moment, a group of people in purple clothes suddenly appeared, surrounding them, their swords drawn. He smiled confidently, as the princess commands. His expression then turned serious as he entered battle mode. Icy sword energy swirled into a gale, sweeping towards Simon and New Air. Sword light rained down, constantly striking the spot where they stood. Fortunately, he shielded the little girl tightly, nimbly dodging each attack with her in his arms. Blades of sword energy kept striking around Ming and Ji-Yun'er, but he tightly held the little girl and skillfully avoided every blow. When the sword-wielding kidnappers praised, Boss, this kid's pretty good, the boss immediately pointed at his men and ordered, pick up that child and see how tough he is then. Simon, holding Ji-Yun'er tightly, glared at them furiously. Don't you dare go too far. He shouted, aren't you afraid of breaking the law? Bullying people like this. Hearing the words breaking the law, the kidnappers raised their eyebrows in unison and echoed, breaking the law. The boss burst into unrestrained laughter, as if he'd heard the funniest joke. Haha, the law. We're acting on Master Lee's orders. You've messed with the wrong people. Be smarter in your next life. The cold glint of the blade was directed at the little girl, threatening to harm the weak. Simon shielded her with his body, desperately fending off the attack. Nor, he whispered, close your eyes. I'm going to kill them. Hearing half of what he said, she vaguely guessed what he intended to do. I can't let Simon Gidge kill anyone, she thought. Then, a faint light emanated from her small body. With unwavering resolve, she made her decision. I have to take care of this. This is the only way now. New Honor's power, activate. The bright, flowing light carefully enveloped her. He seemed to sense something, his face filled with surprise. Cracks began to appear in the ground beneath the kidnapper's feet. Suddenly, a small tremor struck, and the ground beneath them split open. The kidnappers panicked, asking each other what's happening. It wasn't until the ground collapsed into a pit, swallowing them whole, that they realized what was happening. Earthquake! Earthquake! Anaya! They screamed, hearing the kidnappers' cries of earthquake. Earthquake! Anaya! He instinctively shielded the little girl in his arms. I can't let this little one get hurt, he thought, gritting his teeth and clenching his jaw. He turned and, with his remaining strength, tossed the little girl towards the edge of the pit. She cried out, startled by the sudden expulsion from his arms, Simon Gidge. He moved his lips slightly, as if to say, don't be afraid. Ji-Yun'er sat at the edge of the pit, crying and shouting, Simon Gidge. Simon Gidge. At the bottom of the pit, the boss, his neck in Simon's iron grip, gasped painfully, choking out the words, Kyanak. Kia. Simon calmly reminded him, the little one can't see us now. As if this were a death knell, he tightened his grip on the man's throat. You're all going to die. Just as he finished off the boss, a rope suddenly dropped down, momentarily stunning him. At the edge of the pit, little Ji-Yun'er excitedly grabbed the rope and shouted down to him, Simon Gidge, grab it. Nu'ar will pull you up. Seeing her dirty little face, he couldn't bring himself to refuse. Just then, a small stone beneath her feet crumbled. Seeing her lose her footing, he anxiously warned, be careful. But the little princess, caught off guard, widened her eyes, unable to react in time. Her small figure finally lost its balance and tumbled down. Fortunately, he caught her just in time, preventing any injury. Loose stones clattered to the ground. Safely back on the edge of the pit, Ji-Eun was held securely in Yi Siming's arms. He breathed a sigh of relief. That was close. The little girl in his arms suddenly clapped her hands excitedly. Simon Gidge, you're so amazing. So fast and agile. Having just experienced such a close call, he pinched her cheek and asked, why did you come down? The little girl looked at him with an innocent yet firm gaze. Simon Gidge was still down there. Nuar couldn't leave. Nuar promised that after meeting Simon Gidge's family, Nuar would never leave you behind. Touched by her words, his heart trembled. Ji-Eun, he began, but was interrupted by a sudden voice. Over here, Master Gu Qian, the sounds of fighting came from here. Confirming that the men were heading their way, he scooped her up and ran. Ji-Eun exclaimed excitedly, oh, Simon Gidge, don't tell anyone about what happened today, okay? She held up her pinky finger and looked up at him. Tomorrow, Daddy is taking Nuar to the Ling family banquet. We could talk about it then. He held her gently and replied softly, okay. He was surprised by how quick-witted the little girl was. Noticing he was distracted, she poked him. Simon Gidge, what's with that expression? Are you laughing at Nuar in your head? Nuar is helping Daddy by keeping him from worrying. Suddenly seeing a smile appear on his lips, she cheered. Simon Gidge just smiled. He quickly denied it. You're mistaken. But she persisted. No, Nuar clearly saw it. Looking at the little glutton in his arms, practically drooling, he thought to himself, Ji-Eun, please don't get hurt because of me. His gaze gradually sharpened with determination. If I can't protect you, I'll hate myself. By the clear waters of the small lotus pond, a loud voice announced, Minister Shang of the Ministry of Justice arrives with his daughter. And Censor Zhang has also arrived. At the Li family's grand banquet, the servants' announcements echoed through the lively scene. Oh dear, Censor Zhang says he and his eldest daughter seem to have contracted some kind of stone sickness, and they're afraid of frightening everyone, so they're both wearing veils. The servant presented the guest list and said, Master, please take a look. Master Lin stroked his chin and instructed, the censor's people are only fourth-rank officials. Is it really necessary to interact with them? Let them in, but arrange them far from the crowd. Ji-Yu Yehuan, wearing a veil, entered with Ji-Yu Null. The servant greeted them respectfully. Master Zhang, Ms. Zhang, please come in. He looked around, taking in the scene, the carved beams and painted rafters, the extravagant luxury. This Li Yonglong was indeed no ordinary person. He went to his little girl's side and gently put a veil on her, saying dotingly, Our Null is so adorable. Following along with Daddy, it's hard to guarantee others won't recognize you. So, Null and Daddy will act separately. Help Daddy gather intelligence from the other children. Okay. The little girl obediently replied, Don't worry, Daddy. Little Null is the best at catching bad guys. Watching her happily skip away, he quickly reminded her, if anything happens, call Daddy immediately, and Daddy will come right away. The little girl obediently turned back and waved, her eyes firm. Don't worry, Daddy. Nothing will happen. Her figure had just disappeared into the courtyard when Yi Siming's figure emerged from behind the low wall. He anxiously watched her small figure, thinking, such a small child, can she really handle this alone? I must protect her. Footsteps approached, followed by the appearance of a floral dress. The eldest Miss Li walked over arrogantly and asked, Who is this? Why is she wearing a veil? The servant behind her respectfully replied. The housekeeper said she is Censor Zhang's daughter and is wearing a veil because she is ill. She looked at the two, thinking, this girl looks familiar. Suddenly, a light bulb went off in Noel's head, and she remembered. She's the bad guy who threw the kitten into the water. Meanwhile, the eldest Miss Li continued to scold. Coming here while sick, how shameless. Wanted to freeload off the Li family. Noel deliberately said in a sweet, innocent voice, Daddy said it wasn't us who wanted to come, it was the Li family who invited us. Sister, you won't be infected too, will you? I heard that cows don't get sick. Are you like a cow? The eldest Miss Li wasn't stupid and understood the little girl was mocking her. Furious, she yelled, Who do you think you are, daring to speak to me like that? She impatiently waved her fan and ordered the servant, Lin Shi, bring out the toys. The second Miss Li reminded from the side, Bring 3. The servant respectfully replied, Yes. Mississippi Noel's eyes were full of curiosity, thinking, 3. What does that mean? 3 people, beaten black and blue, were brought before her. She looked at their pitiful appearance and asked incredulously what happened to them. The eldest Miss Li pulled an arrow from her sleeve and said darkly, Come on, Miss Zhang. She handed the arrow to Noel, her tone both a reminder and a threat. Shoot them as targets. Shoot them, and you can stay in freeload. Otherwise, you'll be the next toy. Noel looked at her, then at the injured people, her gaze darkening. Through the veil, Noel asked seriously, her tone laced with suspicion, "These are the Lee family's toys, but they're living people." Lin, she handed the arrow to the little girl, boastfully saying, "So what if they're alive? These arrows have been treated. They won't kill anyone, see?" Seeing Noel's confused look, she carefully handed the arrow over. "Miss Zhang, look." The maid in purple crossed her arms, looking at the three people, some standing, some kneeling, trembling. Lin, she pointed at them, demonstrating the way to play is, look at these people, whoever you find most unpleasant, whoever you hate the most, shoot at them. Noel's eyes widened, and she couldn't help but feel sorry for them. It's true they wouldn't break the skin, but shooting these arrows was like beating them severely. No wonder they had so many injuries. The little girl stared at Lin Shi and asked, "Where do you usually keep them in the Lee residence?" Lin Shi didn't react for a moment, stammering, "It's not like they're always locked up, it's just that they have nowhere to go." Although arrogant, Lin Shi honestly replied, "If my father hadn't kindly taken them in, they would have starved to death on the streets." But she felt inexplicably awkward. What's going on? Why am I listening to her so obediently? Ji Yunul widened her round eyes in surprise. The little girl gently lifted the bow and arrow. A young woman whispered to Miss Lee, "Look at her tiny hands and feet. It's questionable whether she can even draw the bowstring." Seeing her gloating expression, the girl in yellow chimed in, "If she loses, make her bark like a dog in front of everyone." Behind the thin veil, a faint smile appeared on Ji Yunul's lovely face. She gripped the bow, ready to knock an arrow. The two young women's faces instantly paled, filled with panic. Ji Yunur raised the bow and arrow, aiming it at the two young women. The girl in yellow panicked and shouted, "What are you doing? You should be aiming at those three toys. Useless things." The little girl's round eyes were full of innocence. She replied indifferently, "Didn't you tell me to shoot the people I hate, the people who annoy me?" Noor drew the bowstring, aimed, and said with a smile, "That's exactly what I'm doing." The sharp arrow flew between the two, startling them into stumbling backward and screaming. "Ah." Noor looked at them innocently and said, "Oops, I missed." One of the young women sat on the ground. The other knelt, both frightened and bewildered. The little girl blinked and excitedly raised her bow and arrow again. "Get up, sisters, or I might really hit you next time." The thinner young woman ran around in terror, screaming, "Help." Only Miss Lee remained relatively calm, pointing at Ji Noor and shouting, "Someone come. Stop this crazy girl." Hearing the shouts, the servants rushed over. Yi Siming jumped out from somewhere, blocking the servants who were charging with sticks. With a serious expression, he braced himself against a tree trunk and snapped, "Don't even think about getting past me." Suddenly, a loud shout rang out, "Who dares cause trouble in our Lee household?" Ji Yunor immediately stopped and stared wide-eyed in the direction of the voice. A furious man dressed in yellow rushed in with two servants. The little girl recognized him. "That's the bad guy who hit Noor and Yi Siming's carriage and then sent people to block us and shoot us with iron arrows. Letting him off so easily is too good for him." The little girl saw her father in the distance, behind the crowd, and felt a surge of joy. "Father is here too." A sudden wave of joy washed over Noor. "I have an idea." The little girl narrowed her eyes and stretched out her small hand, thinking, "I'll let you put on a good show for everyone." Just then, the man in yellow took a deep breath, suddenly looked up, and, seemingly surprised by his own actions, raised his hand. The man in yellow began slapping himself repeatedly, one side of his face swelling up like a pig's head. He himself didn't understand why he was doing it. His father and the servants were stunned, but he continued yelling, "It was me. It was my fault. Stop following me. I was the one who threw them into the mass grave yesterday." Seeing his swollen face, his father quickly ordered, "Quick, restrain the young master. What's going on? He was fine just a moment ago." The man in yellow panicked and yelled, "Stay away." Unexpectedly, he suddenly raised his hand and slapped his father, knocking his face askew. He continued to curse, "You scoundrel, you're already dead. Why are you still causing trouble?" Miss Lee was frightened by the scene and cried incessantly, clinging to the man in yellow's shoulder and babbling incoherently. As she turned and shouted, "Quick, pull them apart." He straddled his father, raining down blows while shouting, "That's for crying for justice. That's for crying for justice." Noor, having seen enough, clapped her hands sharply. As if a switch had been flipped, the man in yellow instantly regained his senses, his fist stopping midair. His father, whose face had swollen even more from his son's beating, roared, "You unfilial son, are you crazy? You dare hit your own father?" The wretched man stammered, "Father, I just saw a ghost. The ghosts of old 3 and the others, the ones you told me to deal with yesterday, were right in front of me." His father, ignoring his burning face, glared at the onlookers and yelled, "Don't listen to this boy's nonsense. There are no such things as ghosts." "But there really are," Nuar declared, hands on her hips. "Remember when young Master Lee crashed into someone's carriage and wanted to beat them up for fun, but they turned out to be quite capable and taught him a lesson instead. Later, young Master Lee, holding a grudge, sent people to assassinate them. But as Retribution would have it, an earthquake struck, and the thugs were either crushed to death or captured by the authorities." She pointed her little finger at the man in yellow's face, now covered in sweat. She spoke solemnly. Uncle Lee probably didn't want the matter to escalate, so he bribed the authorities to kill the survivors. It's no wonder Uncle Lee dares to lock up so many beautiful young women in the dungeon as toys and think nothing of it. This struck a nerve, and the man in yellow flew into a rage. "Enough. No matter who your family is, you dare spread rumors and cause trouble in public. Someone beat this little brat and drag her to the authorities." Nuar clung tightly to her father's robe and asked innocently, "Why are you allowed to hit me? You bad people are locking up beautiful young women. You're the ones who should be beaten." Tears welled up in the little girl's eyes as she cried woefully, "Father, they're bullying me." The hand reaching out to Ji froze in midair as a cold voice rang out. "Sheng Chun, do you still not recognize who I am?" The yellow-clad man finally reacted, realizing with horror the way the child was being held. Ji Yehuan calmly took off his hat, revealing his face. He held the smug new heir in his arms. Screams erupted in the courtyard. Your Majesty." The man fell to his knees, trembling like a leaf. Ji Yehuan swept a cold glance over them and snapped, "Just now you said you were going to hit my precious daughter and even take her to the authorities. Sheng Chun, just how many tricks does your Lee family have up its sleeve?" The man was scared out of his wits, stammering, I wouldn't dare, I didn't know, it was just a moment of foolishness." Yi Siming stepped forward and respectfully reported, "Your Majesty, I have something to report regarding the Lee family." Behind him, 3 women, bound in chains, knelt trembling in the sunlit courtyard. Yi Siming continued, "The princess ordered me to investigate discreetly. After searching, I discovered these women locked in the Lee family cellar." He recounted his findings one by one. According to their testimonies, the eldest daughter of the Lee family had subjected them to all kinds of cruel abuse. The daughter of the Minister of Justice was also involved and couldn't possibly have been unaware. The Lin family's young master dripped with cold sweat, frantically shouting, "In no way. Our cellar is heavily guarded. How did you get in?" Lin, she tugged at his sleeve, whispering, "Brother." Nuar added, "Minister of Justice, your son is truly foolish. It's best to confess early. If father and my guards find out anything else, it will be too late for explanations." Ji Yehuan's face darkened, and he declared coldly, "Li Yongwang, your crimes are heinous. You are sentenced to death, to be executed in the autumn. Sheng Chun, as Minister of Justice, not only did you accept bribes, but you also shielded evildoers. You are hereby dismissed from your post and will be investigated, your entire family exiled." With that, he turned and left, holding Noor, not forgetting to remind the kneeling crowd, "My esteemed officials, think thrice before you act in the future." Ji Yehuan rolled his eyes, muttering under his breath. The princess almost suffered the fate of 9 familial exterminations. He looked at his daughter, his face full of pride, and asked softly, "Oh, how did Daddy do today?" Nuora wrapped her arms around her father's neck, gave him a little kiss, and said with adoration, "Daddy is the best." Ji Yehuan beamed, the courtyard filled with warmth and harmony. Yi Siming silently watched the father and daughter, his fists clenched, thinking sourly, Jiuner, have you forgotten that someone else deserves a reward too? The little one hopped down to the ground and declared with a smile, Daddy, even though I'm hungry, doing good deeds makes my heart feel warm and fuzzy. Ji Yuan looked at his darling daughter dotingly and asked, Nua Bao, are you reminding Daddy that you're hungry? Yes. He suddenly realized. Yi Siming couldn't help but roll his eyes. Ji Yuan glared at him, thinking, you still want to steal my Nua's thunder. Yi Siming returned a jealous look. Ji Nua's gave you a reward, but I got nothing. Just then, both of them heard a rumbling from the little girl's stomach. Nuat skipped ahead, shouting, Nua has decided. I'm taking Daddy to Yi Siming's house for dinner. The two men hurried after her. Cherry blossom petals danced in the wind as the carriage stopped in front of the general's mansion, where two figures were already waiting. Bai Yi bowed respectfully and said, Your Majesty, your presence graces my humble abode. I am truly sorry that I could not welcome you from afar. Madame Bai Yi also curtsied. Ji Yuan, holding Ji Yuan in his arms, smiled casually. It was just a spur-of-the-moment decision. Nua was hungry, and your house was the first thing that came to her mind. There's no need for a grand reception. Just have Madame prepare something simple so my little dumpling doesn't starve. Madame Bai Yi looked at her son, Yi Siming, questioningly, and saw him staring at the emperor with a somewhat awkward expression. Bai Yi quietly tugged at his son's sleeve and whispered, Siming, are you and his majesty and the princess all right? Ye Siming Shuruk. Maybe we're fine. Maybe a big mess is about to happen. Having heard these words, the old man stroked his beard and muttered to himself, So, are we all right, or should I prepare to clean up the mess? On the table were 2 hot dishes and a stir-fry, along with a small jar of what looked to be extremely fine wine. Ji Yuan couldn't help but exclaim, Ah, if I remember correctly, the Bai Yi family's wine cellar is quite famous. Nua's small figure jumped up and down excitedly. Wow, chicken legs. I love chicken legs. Ji Yuan's heart melted as he watched his little daughter, eyes sparkling and mouth nearly watering. Facing the table laden with food, he smiled and said, Just smelling this aroma, I know this wine must be top-notch. Let's open a jar. He saw his little one's hand trembling slightly as she reached for the largest drumstick and said softly, Daddy will get it for you. But Nuar insisted on doing it herself, stubbornly shaking her head. No, Nuar wants to do it herself. That's how it's meaningful. Nuar successfully picked up the drumstick and proudly raised her prize. Look, Ji Yuan, the doting father, immediately applauded. My Nuar is so clever. But the next second, his jaw nearly dropped. His precious darling pushed the plate towards Yi Siming and said sweetly, This is Nuar's favorite. Simon Gidge, you should try it too. The boy simply mumbled, Ji Yuan's face probably turned the color of an eggplant as he watched Yi Siming stuff the entire drumstick in his mouth, eating with relish. He fumed inwardly. Hey, how can you not thank my precious daughter, you ungrateful little? Nuer, completely oblivious, looked at the boy with a beaming smile. It's a good thing Simon Gidge saved those sisters. Ji Yuan raised his cup, feigning composure. As the princess's guard, handling emergencies is your duty, right? How's your tolerance for alcohol? Yi Siming glanced at him indifferently and murmured, It's all right. Ji Yuan's expression darkened. He raised his cup. Good. Bai Yi, bring out all your good wine tonight. I want to have a few drinks with your adopted son. Hearing the emperor's words, Bai Yi panicked slightly. Your Majesty, perhaps I should accompany you in drinking. Siming is still young. Ji Yuan's gaze turned cold. Are you questioning my decree? Bai Yi immediately bowed. This subject wouldn't dare. Yi Siming stood up, silently filled his own cup, and downed it in one gulp in front of everyone. Ji Yuan felt a grudging admiration. Not bad. Your tolerance is decent. Bai Yi, pour me another cup. Madame Bai Yi nervously covered her mouth and quietly asked her husband, Husband, is it all right for His Majesty to drink our wine like this? Bai Yi held up a finger to comfort her. Don't worry, His Majesty's tolerance is better than all the ministers in the court, including me. Seeing the silent contest between Ji Yuan and Yi Siming, she finally relaxed. That's true. Nuar happily gnawed on her drumstick. Madame Bai Yisimidet. With the princess here, His Majesty will surely know his limits. Ji Yi Huan held his cup, his robes loosened to reveal his strong chest. His cheeks flushed and his eyes slightly glazed. Good wine. More. I'm not drunk yet. As soon as he finished speaking, he slumped onto the table, completely out cold. Bai Yi and his wife exchanged worried glances. Nuo tilted her head innocently. Daddy fell asleep. Bai Yi carefully helped Ji Yi Huan up, straightened his robes, and forced a smile. I didn't expect Siming's tolerance to be so good, to actually outdrink his majesty. Madame Bai Yisimilet Kingly. I'll go make some sobering soup for his majesty. Before leaving, she gently instructed Siming, take good care of the princess. Eat slowly. He simply mumbled, completely ignoring the little girl staring at the wine cup on the table. Nuoner's eyes sparkled as she reached for the wine cup, thinking to herself, Daddy is so silly, falling asleep from drinking water. What kind of water is this? It smells so good. Nuo wants to try it too. Suddenly, Yi Siming's chopsticks blocked her small hand. He looked down at her and asked, what are you doing? Nuo was startled. Nuo just wanted to see what made Daddy fall asleep. Siming explained calmly, it's not that you don't understand, it's that you can't look and you can't taste. The little girl pouted. But Daddy said that there are some things I have to handle myself. If Nuo doesn't understand anything, how can I help? Siming replied, you don't need to help with anything. He suddenly stood up and explained seriously, His Majesty wasn't angry when he drank with me. He just wanted to see if my tolerance was good enough to protect you in the future. So in the future, if anyone tries to persuade you to drink, I'll kill them. He placed his hand on his chest, his gaze firm, making a solemn promise. I will protect you with all my might. However, have you forgotten something? Like my reward. Nuo was stunned. In her eyes, Siming Gidge appeared strong on the outside, but was actually like a wounded puppy. Nuo giggled and threw herself into his arms. She quickly kissed Siming on the cheek and laughed. Siming Gidge's reward always tastes like drumsticks. Siming, shy and awkward, stammered despite his obvious happiness. Bai Yi looked at them helplessly and sighed deeply. It seems your majesty is truly drunk. I can handle things here by myself. Xiaomei, please take her highness the princess to rest. Nuo, smiling brightly, acted coquettishly. But Nuo didn't want to rest. She wanted to go out and play with Siming. Bai Yi quickly interjected, about that, but Siming just affectionately ruffled her hair. All right, whatever you want. Nuo was overjoyed, humming a little tune. Bai Yi wiped his face with a handkerchief, thinking to himself, these two have no eyes for anyone else. Peach blossoms drifted gently onto the bustling market street. Siming carefully followed behind Nuo as she skipped along. The little girl turned back, sweetly pouting, her nose wrinkling slightly. Suddenly, Nuo's eyes lit up. Wow, she exclaimed. Before her was a delicate dough figurine, like Chang'e descending from the moon. Nuo's eyes widened in amazement. Excitedly, she pointed at the figurine. It's so beautiful, Brother Siming. Nuo wants this. He looked at her indulgently. He reached into his pocket, then suddenly realized, oh no, I forgot to bring money. Siming froze. Nuo circled him, asking incessantly, Brother Siming, what's wrong? He thought to himself, I can't let her down. Siming turned and instructed, stay here, don't move. I'll be right back. The little girl looked up at him. Watching him dash off, Nuo pointed at herself, her face full of confusion. But didn't you just say Nuo can't leave your side? She huffily chased after him, muttering, humph. Brother Siming can't leave Nuo's side either. Nuo chased after him, still running cutely. Nuo ran to a grassy area, looking around. Brother Siming. In the distance, she saw a figure resembling Siming under a tree. She called out, Brother Siming. But it wasn't Brother Siming. It was a young man with his arm around a girl, soothing her gently. My darling, don't listen to that woman's nonsense. Nuo's eyes widened in surprise as Jiang Shaoran continued to coax. You're the only one in my heart. He gently stroked her hair. The little girl was stunned. Who is this? The girl responded, her clear, innocent eyes full of confusion. But aren't you already engaged to Ms. Zhang, my dear? Jiang Shaoran put on a helpless expression. That's just my parents' arrangement, darling. The only person Jiang Shaoran loves is you, Maiying. She gently took his hand and suggested, if that's the case, then break off the engagement with the Zhang family. Then you can marry me, silly. Shaoran jumped back in fright. He stepped forward, his foot landing firmly on a rock. Xiaoran puffed out his chest, his face full of bravado. But my ambition is the same as my father's, to gallop across the battlefield and serve my country. Now is not the time to get married, darling. His eyes sparkled as he gently coaxed her. Inghe, go home and wait for me. When I return triumphantly, I'll definitely carry you home in a grand wedding procession. Tears welled up in Inghe's eyes. Touched, she agreed. Okay, Jianglang, come back soon. My love. With that, she turned and ran off, crying, wah, and saying as she ran, I'll wait for you. Nuonyuo hid behind a wall, eavesdropping, muttering to herself, Sigh, miss, wake up. It's so obvious he's lying to you. Suddenly, a sharp voice rang out. Jiang Xiaoran, who are you breaking up with now? A girl suddenly appeared behind him, startling him. She angrily demanded, Don't tell me you're engaged and still flirting with other women. Xiaoran quickly explained, What are you talking about, Jinyu? I'm not that kind of person. It turned out this girl was Zhang Jinyu, Jiang Xiaoran's fiancée. She crossed her arms and stared at him, asking, Then who was that person just now? Xiaoran stammered, that? He raised a hand to his forehead, feigning distress, then pretended to confess. To be honest, that was Inghe. I've already rejected her and made it very clear to her not to have any illusions about me. Xiaoran took her hand, speaking tenderly and considerately. Jiang Xiaoran, inside and out, belongs to his fiancée, Zhang Jinyu. Jinyu blushed and stammered his words. Really? He pretended to blow a kiss, flattering her. It's been a while. You smell so good. Moi. Jinyu was both embarrassed and annoyed, turning away with a coquettish glare. You're so annoying, you jerk. Nuonyuo, watching from the side, was furious, cursing inwardly, ugh, scumbag playing with so many girls' feelings. No way. Nuonyuo raised her small hand, muttering, Nuabao must find a way to let these sisters see the truth. The little girl transformed into a small fish, swimming nimbly in the lotus pond, watching Xiaoran continue to flirt with Jinyu, making her both shy and angry. The little fish Nuonyuo jumped up, quietly chanting Nuabao magic, and slapped Inghe in the face with her tail, making her dizzy. Why do I suddenly feel so dizzy? She bumped into a large tree. Inghe reached up to hold her forehead. I'm back under the tree again. From a distance, Nuo saw Jiang Xiaoran flirting with another girl, hugging and kissing intimately. She exclaimed, That's Inghe. Jiang Xiaoran, realizing he'd been seen, hurriedly pushed Jinyu away and stammered, Inghe, why are you back? Inghe. She felt wronged seeing him playing around with another girl. Jianglang, didn't you say you weren't serious about her? Didn't you say you'd come back and marry me? What are you doing now? Jiang Xiaoran panicked, trying to explain. Inghe, don't be like this, listen to me. Jinyu also guessed what was happening and asked with her arms crossed, Marry her. Are you rejecting me? Jiang Xiaoran panicked even more and quickly turned to Jinyu, waving his hands. No, Jinyu, listen to me. Don't misunderstand. Nuo was so angry, she seemed to transform. Pointing at Jiang Xiaoran, she shouted, Don't believe this bad guy. I saw everything clearly from behind the tree. He's been playing you both. Jiang Xiaoran froze, waving his hands dismissively. She's lying. But Nuo continued to point at him. He told Inghe that he wasn't interested in Jinyu. Then she turned to Jinyu and complained. He also told Jinyu that Inghe was still obsessed with him, that even after being rejected, she couldn't let go. Jinyu was stunned, completely disbelieving. Jiang Xiaoran kept denying it, but Nuo continued. He's treating both of you like innocent victims, pretending to be innocent himself. Jiang Xiaoran, enraged, raised his fist and threatened the young girl. Who do you think you are? Spouting nonsense. If you say another word, I'll make you regret it. Seeing his menacing look, both girls shouted at the same time, Stop. Nuo sneered and summoned a protective shield, blocking Jiang Xiaoran's incoming fist. The shield rebounded, throwing Jiang Xiaoran directly into the lotus pond. He cursed from the water, You damn brat. The two girls watched in surprise. Nuo shrugged and scolded, Serve you right, scumbag. This is your retribution for deceiving so many beautiful girls. It's unforgivable. Consider this punishment on behalf of my sister. Jiang Xiaoran reached a dripping hand towards the shore, viciously threatening. Just you wait, you little brat. When I get out of here, I'll tear your mouth apart. He scrambled ashore, soaked to the bone, panting and cursing. I'll tear your mouth apart. Jiang Shaoran was covered in sweat as the two girls berated him. Juanine yelled, "You still want to come out? You're trash." Jean, you crossed her arms and sneered. You thought you were handsome, kind, and deeply in love with everyone. Turns out you're just a good-for-nothing who bullies children. You're a real scumbag. The two girls worked together to kick Jiang Shaoran back into the lotus pond, shouting, "Go keep the lotus flowers company, jerk." He desperately tried to explain from the water, "I actually don't have feelings for either of you. I just didn't want to hurt you. That's why I hid it." He struggled to stay afloat, shouting, "You have to believe me." Nuora looked at the two smiling girls and politely said, "Thank you, sisters, but Nuo still has to go find someone very important. I can't stay with you any longer. While that bad guy is still in the water, you should leave quickly." Nuora smiled at the two girls. "Thank you, sisters. Nuo still has to go find someone important. I can't stay with you. That bad guy isn't out of the water yet, so you should leave quickly." The little girl waved goodbye, and he softly said, "Take care, goodbye." Jinyu also waved. "Okay, I'll remember your kindness. See you again, if fate allows." Jiang Shaoran tearfully waved and shouted, "Wait, Jinyu, Inghe, wait for me." Nuora turned back and scolded, "Stop shouting, they're gone. Take care of yourself." He finally climbed ashore, water still dripping from his shoes, muttering under his breath, "Damn." Supporting himself, soaked and miserable, he grumbled softly, "You ruined 2 of my relationships. Jiang Shaoran won't let you get away with this." He reached out to grab Nuora, yelling, "Now I'm going to throw you into the pond to feed the fish." A hand stopped him, sharply saying, "Try touching her." Yi Siming gripped his wrist tightly, threatening, "I'll break your hand." Yi Siming stared at him intensely, tightening his grip. Jiang Shaoran felt increasing pain in his wrist and cried out repeatedly, "Ow, ow, ow. Brother, sir, ancestor, let go." He nursed his wrist while complaining. Nuotar asked with sparkling eyes, "Simon Gidge, where did you go just now?" He was about to answer when suddenly a group of burly men rushed over, shouting, "Found them. The little brat in black and his accomplice. Pay up or we'll break all 3 of your hands." The 3 of them, Yi Siming, Jiang Shaoran, and Ji Yunhe, were all stunned. Jiang Shaoran was the first to speak, complaining, "What does this have to do with me? My hand is already almost broken." The little girl leaned closer and whispered, "Simon Gidge, what's going on?" He covered his mouth, coughed, and recalled the scene from earlier while shopping. Calmly, he explained, "I just wanted to find some money, and then I saw them, a group of people on the roadside banging gongs and drums, shouting, 'Everyone come and see, don't miss out.' Then they waved at me, offering 10 taels of silver to anyone who could break the large stone on this guy's chest with their bare hands." Hearing this, I was immediately interested, recalling how readily he had agreed to lift the iron hammer. He reminisced, "So, I thought I'd give a try for that little bit of money." He said, somewhat sheepishly, "I didn't control my strength, and with one blow, I sent the man flying, spitting blood." Seeing their companion knocked out with a single blow, the other 2 panicked and shouted, "He's dead. Catch him. Make him pay." The little girl with wide, bright eyes looked thoughtful and praised him. "George, you're so amazing. It's not really George's fault. That uncle was just unlucky. We have to help him. How much money do they want?" He scratched his face sheepishly and said, "It seems like 50 taels." The little girl thought for a moment and then turned to Jiang Shaoran. "Do you have money?" He replied innocently, "Of course, I have thousands of taels. What's wrong?" The little girl, satisfied with his answer, said, "That's great." Her eyes sparkled like flowers, leaving him confused. "Huh." The little girl immediately struck a pose, wrapping her arms around his leg. Holding tight, tears welled up in her large, watery eyes as she cried and pleaded, "Wah, Jiang Shaoran, you're a noble young lord. Don't be stingy with this little bit of pocket money." He was completely bewildered by the scene and could only struggle and shout, "Hey, what are you doing? Get off." Hearing this, the little girl clung tighter and cried louder. Making up a story, Ergotzi didn't mean to hurt anyone. "George, you're so kind and beautiful. Quickly give him the money." Speechless, he could only curse inwardly. Seeing the little girl clinging to him and crying, calling him George, the 3 men surrounded him and demanded money. "Are you his brother?" "That's great. The younger brother owes money. The older brother pays." He tried to explain, "I don't even know them." But they wouldn't listen, continuing to surround him, accusing him of trying to avoid paying and even increasing the amount, trying to welch. Then add another 100 taels, or we'll break your hands. Surrounded by several strong men, he roared angrily, "I've been wronged. You damn girl, don't run away. Wait for me." The girl had already slipped away from the crowd and ran to his side, urging Brother Simon, run. Seeing the situation, he nodded in agreement. In a magnificent and imposing mansion, Ji-yu Nor and Yi Siming strolled leisurely. The little girl, her spirits high, said with satisfaction, "We finally shook them off." That's a lesson for Jiang Shaoran and the others. He walked beside her, simply nodding. Suddenly, he took out a carefully wrapped package and said, "This is for you." The little girl took it and asked curiously, "What is this?" Opening it, she saw a piece of candy that looked a bit like her rock candy, making her exclaim in amazement, "Wow." Looking at the candy in her hand, her innocent eyes held a trace of worry as she asked, "But didn't Brother Simon have no money?" His face flushed red like a hawthorn berry as he turned his head and said slowly, "Of course, I had to compensate them. But anyway, I was the one who broke the stone. If they didn't give it to me, I'd just take it myself. In any case, I didn't want to disappoint you." Hearing this, a happy smile bloomed on the little girl's face. Then the little girl suddenly jumped on him and said happily, "Thank you, Brother Simon." He quickly reached out to steady her, reminding her, "Get down, you." The little girl ignored him, continuing to hug him, burying her head in his chest and acting spoiled. He could only helplessly hug the little girl and sigh. In Consort Zhao's palace, the weather was warm and pleasant. Consort Zhao sat leisurely, reading a book and sipping tea, sighing, "The weather is so nice today." Suddenly feeling a bit melancholic, she turned to look at her daughter, who was engrossed in playing and paying her no mind, and said, "No, I swear, when did you start ignoring your mother? What are you doing?" The little girl didn't look back, her hands still busy, and simply replied, "Nothing, just trying to make little Meow prettier." Almost done. Consort Zhao worried, thinking that the quieter a child is, the more likely they are to cause trouble. "Prettier? What's going on?" She anxiously reached out and said, "Quickly let mother see." The little girl turned her face and the kitten's body covered in messy drawings, and asked innocently, "Mother, aren't Noabao and little Meow pretty?" Consort Zhao immediately interrupted, looking at Ji-yu Nor with distress. "Pretty? My goodness, how did you waste all of mother's rouge?" The little girl obediently let her mother wipe her face, muttering, because Noabao was so bored that she was about to turn into a little mushroom. "It's because Daddy hasn't let Noabao go out to play recently." Consort Zhao, intrigued, asked her father. The prisoner was busy combing the kitten's fur. Consort Zhao covered her mouth and chuckled, defending the emperor. "It's because he lost a drinking and gambling bet and is still angry. He'll take Noabao out when his anger subsides." While Jianur was attending to official matters elsewhere, she suddenly sneezed and wondered who was thinking of her. The little girl looked at the kitten in her arms with clear eyes and said listlessly, "But Noabao wants to go out and play now." She thought regretfully that she hadn't seen Simon for several days. Just then a deep, warm male voice came from outside. "My dear sister, where do you want to go and play?" The newcomer covered his face with a fan and softly asked the little girl, "Can second brother take you?" Entering the main hall, Ji-yu Jintong smiled and bowed to Consort Zhao. Jintong greets Mother Consort. He looked tenderly at the little girl and asked, "Noabao, my little darling, have you missed second brother?" At this moment, on the small stage, Ji Yin was lying on the ground, fast asleep, muttering, "Noabao, next time Daddy will definitely drink him under the table." Could Noabao let Ji Yu know her? Her eyes lit up, and she cried out happily, "Second brother." She ran over and said ingratiatingly, "Of course Noabao remembers you, second brother." He smiled and rubbed her head, praising, "My little sister is so good." He picked her up dotingly and took out a sparkling blue snowflake. "Noabao, look, do you like second brother's gift?" Her eyes widened in surprise. "Wow, it's so beautiful." Ji Yu Jintong added sentimentally, "Our Noabao truly has good taste. Only Noabao is worthy of such a treasure." Consort Zhao suddenly spoke. "This snowflake is flawless and worth a fortune. It's a treasure. You're spoiling her again, giving her such a valuable gift." He replied with a smile, "What's this?" "When my maternal grandfather found it overseas, he said he must give it to my little sister. Nuar is so adorable. We all think she deserves the best." Hearing this, she sighed in relief. All right. We all know Consort Yi's family is the richest in Dachi. You don't lack money. Speaking of which, where's your mother? Why are you the only one here today?" Hearing his mother's name, his face darkened, and he said uncomfortably, "Why bring up my mother out of the blue?" He quickly picked up Noir and walked out. "Mother consort, I'm taking my little sister out to play. Farewell." Completely ignoring Wanyan's reminder from behind. "Slow down. Don't let the princess fall." Watching his flustered appearance, Consort Xiao sighed. This boy, he probably lost his mother again. At this moment, in the cold palace, Noir was leisurely munching on an apple when she suddenly asked, "Second brother, why do you run away whenever mother is mentioned?" An image of his mother's frightening demeanor flashed through his mind. "Jintang, hand over all your lucky money and reward silver. Mother will keep it safe for you." He replied with a mournful look, "Don't mention her. That woman is terrible. She even swindles her own son's money. I don't acknowledge her as my mother." The little girl's eyes widened in curiosity. "Ah, but Consort E is very good to Noabao. Not bad at all." He said with a smile, "My little sister is so cute. It's only right for her to be good to you." Then, Jiyu Jintang picked up a shovel and quietly dug forward. "But her being good to you doesn't erase the harm she's done to me. It's all her fault that I can only steal a little money in this dreadful cold palace." He fantasized, "One day, I will become the richest person in Dachi, and no one except Noabao will get a penny from me." Noir cheered him on enthusiastically from behind. "Go, second brother," giving him the motivation to keep digging. Soon, a shiny mirror appeared. He said excitedly, "Noabao, now is the moment to witness a miracle." He happily held 2 gold ingots and said, "As long as second brother puts these 2 gold ingots in, we can make 1,000 taels." The two looked on expectantly as he slowly reached out to open the mirror. "My silver, my precious." But something strange happened. It was empty inside, not a single coin. The two peered inside, completely stunned. Unable to bear the blow, Jiyu Jintang hugged Noir tightly and yelled, "Ah, who did this?" "Noabao, second brother's money is gone." The little girl, drenched in sweat from his embrace, urged, "Second brother, calm down. Let go of Noabao first." He lost his mind like a madman, clutching his head and crying, "Money, money." Noir cautiously approached and observed, "Ah, there's a medicinal smell." The clever little girl sent someone behind her and pointed, "Second brother, someone's over there." He screamed in fright, "Ah, what?" and cried again, "Mother was right. There really are ghosts in the cold palace. Did a ghost steal my silver? I don't want it anymore." Noir comforted him like a little adult. "Don't be afraid, second brother, be good." She walked towards a person, and he pleaded in a daze, "Noabao, what are you doing? Come back quickly." But she just comforted him cheerfully. "It's all right, second brother. Ghosts don't have such beautiful long hair, and they don't smell so nicely of medicine." The little princess pushed the door open without a care. "You're in there, aren't you, third brother?" At this moment, a man with flowing long hair and unparalleled handsomeness appeared. It was the third prince, Jiyu Jinyao. At this moment, the second prince finally reacted, "Third brother, wait a minute. This box smells of medicine. In the palace, only you like hanging around the imperial physicians. So, did you steal my money?" Jinyao coldly replied, "Borrowed, and I've already paid it back." He casually tossed a large bag of silver to the second prince, adding nonchalantly, "I was just a little slow in gathering it. You came too quickly. I hadn't had time to bury it before you found it." The second prince looked incredulous. "Are you stupid? Even if you buried it, I could still find it." The third prince still looked bewildered, asking impatiently, "Are you done counting? You're so long-winded." This completely set off the second prince. "You took my money and you dare talk back to me. How did you know Noabao and I hid the money?" Jinyao calmly retorted, "Sai, you're so annoying. Speaking of Noabao, you should thank her. If it weren't for her, I really wouldn't have been able to pay you back." The second prince became even angrier, shouting, "You brat. Is this how you talk to your older brother?" Zhou angrily put her hands on her hips and walked forward, mediating like a little adult. "You two, stop arguing." She gently explained, "Second brother worked hard to save this money, so it's understandable that he's angry. But Noabao believes third brother wouldn't take someone else's money without reason. Third brother, is there something troubling you? You can tell us." Suddenly, the third prince's expression became innocent. He sighed and said, "Since Noabao asked, then I'll tell the truth." The second prince, standing to the side, felt a pang of jealousy and snorted. Jinyao said seriously, "I came here to look for the corpse flower, but I didn't find it. Instead, I found the money you two hid. I needed medicinal herbs, so I borrowed the money to buy them. I only had the chance to return it today." The second prince asked in confusion, "Corpse flower? What corpse flower? You try and trick us again?" aren't you? Joe Nabao, with a knowing look, slowly analyzed, the corpse flower grows in gloomy graveyards. It's incredibly effective for external injuries, right, third brother? Are you injured? Her question made the third prince pause. Noabao, you understand medicine at such a young age. But I'm not injured, the third prince said frankly. I'm preparing it for the soldiers outside the city. Those new recruits haven't finished training yet, but they have to go to the battlefield. And there are so many of them. Many are seriously injured and haven't had medicine for a month. They're barely holding on. He became more and more agitated. Many are seriously injured and haven't had medicine for a month. They're on the verge of death. Hearing this, the little princess widened her eyes in shock. What? But Father Emperor never mentioned this in court. The third prince closed his eyes helplessly. I don't know why either. I only know that saving lives is paramount. Hearing this, she clenched her small fists and said firmly, I see. Third brother did the right thing. Nuabao supports you. Then lead the way, third brother. Nuabao wants to go to the military camp, now to see. The third prince exclaimed happily, really, you'll definitely be able to help them. She agreed excitedly, Nuabao must help them. Only the second prince, as if he had fallen from the sky, stood stunned. Huh? Jiao Nuabao excitedly raised her finger and suggested, but we have to make a detour to the general's residence to pick up brother Simon first. The third prince agreed without hesitation. Okay, but who is that? Only the second brother asked in shock. Wait, Simon. Nuabao, you have another brother. Meanwhile, at the general's residence, Yi Siming was leisurely sitting in a chair, reading a book. Bai rushed in excitedly. Siming, news from the palace. Princess Jiao Nuabao is coming to pick you up. Get ready. Yi Siming simply hummed in acknowledgement. The image of Jiao Nuabao calling him brother Siming surfaced in his mind, and his face flushed. He thought with a slight awkwardness, finally remembered to look for me. You heartless little thing. But if she really comes. Yi Siming suddenly called out, wait. Bai was startled and scratched his head, suggesting awkwardly, want to try breaking a rock on your chest? I'll go easy on you. I promise I won't kill you. Bai Yi's face paled, shrinking back like a trembling little animal. Huh. After a while, Yi Siming explained the situation. Bai Yi couldn't help but burst into laughter. Haha, so you want to earn some money to have fun with the princess? Yi Siming blushed at his laughter. Bai Yi patted his shoulder and asked in a doting tone, who told you to break rocks on your chest for money? You're my son. If you need money, talk to your mother. I'll give you as much as you want. Suddenly, he stroked his chin thoughtfully, recalling Siming's usual aloof demeanor, and sighed, wait, this seems to be the first time this stubborn child has asked for something on his own initiative. Before, we chased after him to give him things, but he wouldn't take them. He grinned mischievously, finally seizing the opportunity. How about this? Simon, you want money, right? Come on, let's spar. A man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. They dragged him to the training grounds. Yi Siming furrowed his brow, gripping his weapon. Are you sure you want to spar with me? Bai simirkit confidently. Of course. The time it takes an incense stick to burn. Whoever lands the most blows wins. He shot Siming a provocative glance. You're not scared, are you, kid? Bai Yi's wife stood to the side, stifling a giggle. Siming returned a scornful smile, straightening his posture. I'm afraid I might hurt you too badly. Bai Yi couldn't wait any longer. He gritted his teeth and charged. Let's talk, come on. Their fight was fierce. Bai Yi's wife stood outside, leisurely sipping tea, watching with amusement. In a flash, Bai Yi was left with a bruised and swollen face, waving his hands in surrender. I give up, I give up. Why do you keep hitting my face? Simon grinned slyly. You never said I couldn't. Hand over the money. Bai Yi angrily threw the money at him. Here, you brat. Yi Siming said earnestly, getting angry won't help. You're already quite skilled, just not quite there yet. Bai Yi grew even angrier. Shut up, get out. His wife quickly soothed him. All right, calm down. Meanwhile, outside, Jinur was sprawled on the carriage, sighing dramatically. Oh, why isn't brother Simon here yet? The second prince said worriedly to his younger brother, third brother. Even though we don't usually get along, you need to listen to your second brother this time. The third prince crossed his arms, his face full of impatience. Why? And can you speak further away from me? He waved his hand dismissively. I heard Yi Siming is like a wolf cub general brought back from the enemy camp, incredibly stubborn. If he's going to be guarding our little sister, closer. As her older brother, I have to test him. How else can I be at ease? After some persuasion, the third prince nodded. Makes sense. He leaned closer, whispering in his second brother's ear. Then let's do this, and this later. The third prince agreed. Okay. Just then, the little princess's eyes lit up and she reached out. Brother Simon, seeing his little darling so happy, the second prince's face immediately fell. He's here. Yay. Simon gently picked her up. Have you been waiting long? She snuggled in his arms. It's okay. As long as I'm waiting for Brother Simon, can wait forever. The second prince's jaw dropped at their affectionate display. Simon said dotingly, I brought money this time. Let's go buy toys. She beamed, her cheeks flushed. Brother Simon is the best to Noir. Suddenly, Noir turned serious. But this time, Noir has something important to ask Brother Simon. I need you to accompany me, using your identity as General Bai's adopted son. Simon agreed without hesitation. Okay. Meanwhile, the second prince grabbed the third prince's collar, muttering gloomily, why does little sister like him so much? I am jealous. The third prince, dizzy for being shaken, pleaded, second brother, calm down, I'm getting dizzy. The second prince stepped forward to block them. Hey, you're just gonna take my sister away like this. Do you think we're invisible? Simon remained calm. Who are you? The second prince nearly choked with anger. Wiping his mouth, he puffed out his chest and announced himself. I am Jiyu Jintong, the second prince of Dachi. Today, I will teach you a lesson. Third brother, let's go. Unexpectedly, the third prince introduced himself gracefully. Hello, I am Nuotter's third brother, Jiyu Jinyao. I'll be accompanying you on this trip. Pleased to meet you. My second brother isn't quite right in the head. He wants to beat you up, don't mind him. This was like adding insult to injury. The second prince was so furious, he almost spat blood. Third brother, you traitor. Everyone boarded the carriage. Noor looked back and reminded him, second brother, stop messing around. We're leaving. Are you coming or not? The second prince, looking utterly forlorn, sniffled and followed. Finally, the little princess's carriage stopped outside the military camp. Simon's voice came. Are you sure? He held her soft arm, helping her down from the carriage, and asked again, is this really where you want to come? His expression was grave, as if sensing danger. The smell of blood isn't strong, but it's still there. A soldier walked out carrying a basin of bloody water. Countless wounded were being carried away. Zhao Junyi stood in the middle of the camp, yelling, hurry up, hurry up. The urging calls rose and fell. Simon led the little girl forward, his face growing more serious, sensing the heavy scent of blood from that direction. The little girl widened her eyes, peeking through the gaps in the tents. Inside the tent, countless wounded soldiers lay covered in blood, their bodies wrapped in bandages. One cried out in despair, just let me die. Zhao Junyi quickly encouraged him. You must hold on. Don't think like that. I won't let you die like this. Another weakly pleaded, help me. Someone help me. Zhao Junyi urged someone nearby. What are you standing around for? Stop the bleeding. The person replied helplessly, but we've run out of medicine. He retorted angrily, how could we run out so fast? Damn it. Ji Nuor froze, asking, how did this happen? The third prince also exclaimed in shock. This isn't right. Something's not right. He angrily questioned Zhao Junyi. Explain this to me. I just sent medicine yesterday. Even if it wasn't enough, it's impossible to use it all up overnight. The second prince, standing nearby, added, that's right. You even made third brother, a celestial being, steal from his own brother to buy medicine. Where is it? He jumped, turned around, his eyes and mouth wide open, murmuring, third prince, even second prince is here. The legendary adopted son of General Bai in the water. He noticed the little girl in the pink dress standing out and quickly recognized her as the princess. Princess Daowang is here too. Is this the regency behind the scenes? As His Majesty's grace finally arrived. Seeing this, Zhao Junyi and the others knelt down to greet them. Your Highnesses, please seek justice for the wounded soldiers here. The little girl rubbed his face with her soft little hands and said, Uncle Junyi, there's no need for formalities. She widened her eyes and asked urgently, tell me quickly what happened. How did the medicine third brother gave you run out so fast? Zhao Junyi, sweating profusely, clasped his hands respectfully and said, Princess, I wouldn't dare to hide anything. The medicine third prince sent yesterday. The image of a domineering general flashed through his mind, and he stammered it. It was taken by General Jean Dong, the military supervisor of the reserve camp, to trade for wine. I couldn't stop him. I reported him several times, but he suppressed it. The second prince and the little princess were both shocked. What? Zhao Junyi continued. These soldiers are sacrificing themselves for the country, but they are suffering without medicine. Please seek justice for them. Yi Siming and the third prince remained silent, speechless for a moment. The second prince stroked his chin, recalling, I heard that this General Jean Dong rose through the ranks due to nepotism. His father was the former General Jean Dong, a loyal and devoted patriot who passed his title down to his son. He said disappointedly, I didn't expect this Guiziyuan to be so depraved, daring to sell the life-saving medicine of the military camp. Nuoker stamped her foot in anger. The little girl clenched her fists and said, he'll get his comeuppance one day. But the most important thing now is to save people. She looked at her elder brother, second brother, and third brother. We have to find a way to get medicine for these wounded soldiers. The third prince patted her head helplessly and said, I'm afraid we can't get that medicine back in a short time, and we can't find a large quantity of suitable herbs nearby. He took out his abacus and calculated, even if we buy it, it will take half an hour to transport it here, and the cost will be very high. The little girl bit her nails, pondering, finding medicine. How about this? If there isn't enough medicine, we'll find another way. As for the prescription, suddenly, the little girl's eyes lit up and she smiled happily. I have a great idea. If we can't find it in the human realm, we'll look in the heavens. With that, she skipped out, not forgetting to instruct, Noor is suddenly very sleepy and wants to take a nap. Brother Siming must protect Noor. Before Noor opens her eyes, no one is allowed to disturb her. Yi Siming replied, okay, but if you're sleepy, why don't you go back to sleep? His eyes suddenly widened as if he had seen something terrifying. A blue celestial aura rose from around the little girl. Her body unconsciously transformed into a goldfish. Her eyes closed as she fell into a deep sleep. The celestial aura soared towards the sky. Yi Siming looked up at the celestial aura rising into the sky, thinking, what is this little one? The mortals who didn't understand what was happening were frightened by the little princess's strange behavior. The second prince asked in a panic, what's going on? What's wrong with Nuonuo? Don't scare your elder brother. Suddenly, a hand reached out and grabbed his arm tightly. Yi Siming reminded him with a straight face. She said not to disturb her. The second prince could only reply helplessly, all right, I understand. Meanwhile, in the imperial study of the palace, Ji Yuyin suddenly shuddered and cried out in pain, Chun Xiao, come and help me. Approving so many memorials is exhausting. The eunuch hurried over, be careful, your majesty. Chun Xiao carefully supported him. Take it easy, your majesty. Don't hurt your back. His eyes flickered as if he saw something. A goldfish shot straight up into the sky. He looked in that direction and asked, what is that? Chun Xiao, where is that? Chun Xiao immediately replied, it looks like the reserve camp on the outskirts of the capital. Ji Yuyin remained silent, pursing his lips as if pondering something. Half an hour later, outside the camp, Zhao Junyi excitedly held up a piece of paper, his face full of praise. I've long heard that the princess is a lucky star, but I never thought she could dream of a miracle medicine in her sleep. Who would have thought that those herbs on a mountain, even the weeds, could be combined into a holy medicine for healing injuries? The second prince happily agreed. That's great. It's so cheap we can buy a whole cartload. If we can't buy it, we'll send people to dig it up. It's truly amazing. The third prince's eyes widened, his mouth agape. Xi and Baccarat, are you taking apprentices? Would you take me, your third brother? Inside the Tianji pavilion, the little girl giggled. Hee, this was actually discovered by Nuo when she was wandering in the sky. Only those with the heavenly, I could see her transform into a carp and fly into the sky. She explained with a bright smile, this is heaven's will. Hurry up and go treat your brother's injuries. Physician Zhao accepted the order and ran out joyfully with the paper. Thank you, princess. I'll gather people to prepare the herbs right away. Suddenly, he bumped into something hard and cried out in fright, ouch. The man looked down angrily. Zhao Junyi fell to the ground and was immediately scolded. "You clumsy thing, Zhao. Are you blind?" He said with disgust. "I just returned to the camp, and I hear you useless things making such a racket." He drunkenly waved the wine bottle in his hand and roared, "Damn it. What princess? What miracle medicine? How dare you ruin my drinking mood? I'll punish you according to military law." Everyone was in an uproar. The second prince frowned and asked, "Are you General Shou Dong?" Seeing his state, Ji Yunoer asked, "Are you that General Zhan Dong who abandoned the wounded?" He immediately knelt down and respectfully said, "Greetings, Your Highness." Inwardly, however, he thought dismissively, "What can these little brats do to me?" His face darkened, and he sneered, "Your Highness, don't listen to those villains' nonsense. Didn't I specifically set up tents for them to recuperate?" The general even reversed black and white, accusing them. "It's these soldiers themselves who are stupid, exaggerating their minor injuries. Your Highness needn't pay attention to them. I will deal with them according to military law." Completely disregarding everyone's feelings, he arrogantly ordered, "Someone drag those troublemaking soldiers out and give them 20 lashes. Physician Zhao, 50. Hearing this, someone couldn't help but angrily shout, "What?" The little girl's eyes widened in surprise. You still want to falsely accuse them and beat them?" The third prince frowned and angrily rebuked, "You've got some nerve, daring to punish the innocent." The second prince also angrily threatened, "You, as a general, actually embezzled medicinal supplies to exchange for alcohol. Do you think I'm joking? I'll take you to see father right now." He, however, showed no fear and refused to admit anything. "What embezzlement of medicinal supplies? Your Highnesses, don't speak carelessly without evidence. They clearly used up all the medicine." The shameless general pointed at himself, putting on a superior air. "As for how the reserve camp is managed, that's my business. Your Highnesses have no right to interfere." The little princess and the princes were so angry they couldn't speak. You. The general raised his head and drank the wine in his hand in one gulp, casually saying, "How can there be no injuries in war? Just treat them casually, don't waste resources." After finishing his drink, he swaggered away, muttering, "Of course, if your Highnesses are willing to spend money to treat the soldiers' injuries, Zhan won't stop you. Please be my guest." The second prince was so angry he was fuming. The little princess's eyes widened, and she cursed inwardly. "This person is truly detestable." Nua Bao is angry. She took a step forward, preparing to make a move and let him taste the pain her brothers had suffered. Just then, before he could walk far, his leg was suddenly tripped by an invisible force, and he fell heavily to the ground, startling the princes behind him. He struggled to sit up, screaming, "My leg is broken." The little girl was also stunned, wondering, Nua Bao didn't use that much force. At this moment, Yi Siming's red eyes quietly faded, and he smiled with satisfaction, thinking, "You're a kind child, but I'm not. Whoever dares to bully my precious little sister, I'll make sure they suffer the consequences." The general roared furiously, "You fools, hurry up and treat my injury." The third prince sneered from the side, "How can there be no injuries in war? I hope General Zhan Dong will also treat it casually and not waste the national treasury silver." The second prince echoed, "That's right. We have money to buy medicine for the soldiers, but we don't want to waste it on you. Treat it yourself, understand? I won't throw a single coin your way, although I don't know how you fell." I was pleased to hear this, but his face suddenly darkened, his muscles twitching. He was speechless for a long time and could only point and shout, "You bastards. Auspicious signs? Good omens, it's all bullshit. I think you princes and princesses are nothing but jinxes." Ji Yunuar couldn't help but retort sarcastically, "You're the one doing bad things and cursing people. Nua Bao doesn't mind being your jinx." Yi Siming sighed coldly. "What's the point of talking to him so much? Kill him." The general was terrified when he heard this, stammering, What do you want to do? I have an amnesty token and military merits. No one can touch me except the emperor." Suddenly, Jiyu Yihin's resonant voice rang out. "It seems I've arrived just in time." The little princess jumped up joyfully and shouted, "Father." A high-pitched voice announced, "His Majesty the Emperor has arrived." Jiyu Yihin himself appeared, his demeanor cold and majestic. The little girl rushed over happily. "Father, why are you here?" He gently explained to his beloved daughter, "Just now, Father saw an auspicious sign and felt something. I went to investigate and found that Nua Bao was saving people again, so of course I had to come and help." He held her in his arms and sternly ordered, "I've already heard about the reserve camp. Prepare everything according to the princess's prescription immediately." He then began to assign tasks. All expenses will be covered by the second prince, charged to the treasury. The second prince's eyes lit up at the mention of money, praising, "Father is so generous." He continued, at the same time, immediately summoned the imperial physicians and renowned doctors from all over, led by the third prince, to assist the military doctors in treatment. The third prince beamed, "Father is wise." Jiu Yin added, "In addition, all participants will be rewarded with 3 months' salary and a promotion. Injured soldiers will be compensated separately according to their injuries." As soon as he finished speaking, the military doctors and soldiers cheered, "Thank you, Your Majesty. Long live the Emperor." Jiu Yihan glared coldly at the general. "As for you, General Zhang Dong, you will temporarily retain your position as military supervisor. The reserve camp will be temporarily managed by E, pending investigation." The general protested, sweating profusely, "But Your Majesty." Before he could finish, Jiu Yihan interrupted him coldly, "You should be grateful that you have a good father and that my daughter doesn't like to kill indiscriminately. Otherwise, just for insulting my daughter, I would have had you drawn and quartered." Having said that, the emperor turned and asked his little darling affectionately, "Noah Bao, are you satisfied with what father has done?" The little girl praised sweetly, "Father is the best. Noah Bao loves father the most." He gently instructed, "Good girl, hold on tight to father. We're going back to the palace." Bai Yi patted Yi Siming's shoulder and said kindly, "Siming, let's go home." He obediently followed. "Okay." Leaning against the emperor's shoulder, the little princess turned back and waved goodbye enthusiastically. "Goodbye, brother Siming." Yi Siming also waved goodbye, pondering to himself, "The fortune of Dachi, the blessing of the people. Jiyuner, who are you really?" Meanwhile, in the empress's chambers, consort Zhao happily reported, "That's right, His Majesty sent Tonger and Yaoer to do some work and even rewarded them." Consort Yi and Consort Lan were both very pleased. The empress said happily, "That's wonderful." The empress stroked Ji Yunuar's chubby cheeks and praised, "However, I still think the divine prescription in Nuar's dream contributed the most." Suddenly, the empress's eyes lit up. "If my youngest son were to return and see Nuar Bao, he would definitely like her." Consort Zhao suggested, "Sister, how about asking His Majesty to issue a decree summoning our youngest son back?" The empress shook her head. "I know my son's temperament. He went to the military camp to train himself and won't return until he achieves satisfactory results." She smiled. "However, my health has improved recently, and I want to go to the temple outside the palace to pray for my youngest son. Please help me arrange it." Consort Zhao was taken aback. "Sister, what did you say?" "Everything will be arranged for you." "No, I must wait until I'm finished with my work before taking Nuo Bao with me." Consort Zhao took out a scroll with a dejected look and checked it. "It's not much, just the Empress Dowager's birthday, the memorial day for the late consort, the coming-of-age ceremonies for the 3 princes, praying for medicine for the 2 sick princes, and the leaking roofs of 14 palace halls in the harem." The Empress smiled helplessly and couldn't help but tease, "Isn't that a lot? Enough to keep you busy for a while. Don't worry, I can go alone." Consort Zhao pouted, "But I want to go with you, sister." And Noa Bao, who was at the side, said speechlessly, "Mother, your attempt to act cute failed." Suddenly, there was a commotion outside. A palace maid impatiently scolded, "Mu Shuzhen, you clumsy oaf. You still want to serve the consorts. Get out." Mu Shuzhen retorted, "You're the one who broke it." Outside the Empress's chambers, the palace maid, Xiao Yun, angrily scolded and slapped Mu Shuzhen hard. "A daughter of a disgraced official dares to talk back. This is the meal for the consorts and princesses. Go and redo it, or you'll regret it." Nuara recognized them. "It's those 2. Consort Zhao was furious and called them in for a reprimand. When asked why they were making such a commotion in the Empress's chambers, the cunning Xiaoyun was quick to place the blame, saying that Su Jin had accidentally knocked over the tray of pastries the imperial kitchen had specially prepared for the princess. With the 2 imperial concubines present, the girl, so bold, put on an air of competence, claiming she had already disciplined Su Jin and hadn't wanted to trouble the empress and princess, pleading for forgiveness. Mu Shuzhen just knelt there, looking pitiful and not saying a word. The little princess, displeased, interjected if she did something wrong, She should have told the empress or my mother. How could she take matters into her own hands and hit her? The girl then seized the opportunity to speak ill of Mu Shujin, saying, "Your Majesty, Shujin is always making mistakes. I just wanted her to correct herself and lost my temper for a moment. Please forgive me, Your Majesty." The empress smiled gently. "It's all right. It was just a tray of pastries. No one was hurt. Ayun, stop making things difficult for Shujin. You may all rise." Noble consort Zhao was somewhat displeased. "Lan Jie," she sighed, still irritated. "Forget it. The empress is in a good mood today, so we'll let it go this time. But you must all remember the empress is extremely important. You must serve her with utmost care, or your heads will roll." The scheming Xiaoyan replied sweetly, "Please rest assured, Your Majesty, I will serve the empress well." Mu Shujin just sadly looked away, murmuring her agreement. Seeing her indifferent attitude, noble consort Zhao was furious, thinking to herself that Mu Shujin was truly a blockhead, unteachable, and that Lan Jie was too soft-hearted to deal with her. Impatiently, she said, "All right, you are all dismissed." The two responded respectfully, "Yes, we shall take our leave." After they left, noble consort Zhao furrowed her brow and complained, "Lan Jie, that Mu Shujin is too slow and clumsy. Let's replace her. I'll find someone as quick-witted as Ayun, all right." Ji Nuar disagreed. "Mother, Nuar thinks that's not a good idea. Mother focuses too much on appearances and hasn't thought it through. You can't just look at the surface." She chattered. "Everyone has strengths and weaknesses. No one is perfect. Sister Shujin just hasn't shown her capabilities yet." The empress stroked Nuar's head, praising her. "Nuar Bao is exactly right. I also think Shujin is very kind. Ayun, you may not know this, but the reason I'm leaving the palace for prayers is because in my dreams, many wronged souls pleaded, 'Empress, we've been wrongly accused. Please save us. Empress, save us.'" The empress had begun to have trouble sleeping, haunted these past few nights by the spirits of those palace maids, standing by her bed, weeping and begging her to clear their names. Lowering her eyes, the empress said with worry, "I thought they were just nightmares, but even after waking up, I still felt distressed. I haven't been sleeping well, and my spirit is low. But whenever I feel most despairing, there's always a fairy in green, quietly guarding my bedside, dispelling the negative energy." With a glimmer in her eyes, the empress continued, "That fairy's face bears a strong resemblance to Shujin." Nuar gasped in surprise. Noble consort Zhao forced a smile and said reluctantly, "All right, if you like her, keep her. However, the matter of Lan Jie leaving the palace for prayers must be arranged according to my plan. No objections. If there are, then there's nothing that can be done." Nuar rested her chin on her hand and declared, "Mother, it's actually very simple. Just let Nuar accompany the empress." Both adults were stunned, their eyes wide and mouths agape. 3 days later, in front of Taishur Temple, the group quickly set off. The journey was extremely arduous, mountains upon mountains. Ji Nuar sighed in the carriage. "Oh, I volunteered to accompany the empress on this prayer journey to reassure Mother, thinking Father would surely send many experts to protect us." She exclaimed in exasperation, "But Father is being so dramatic. He actually sent an entire squad of fully armed soldiers as escorts." Dejectedly, she recalled Yi Siming's impatient face. He had even dragged Brother Siming out of bed early that morning, and as a result, Brother Siming had been unhappy the entire journey. Worriedly, she patted his face with her small hand. "Brother Siming, are you sleepy? Do you not like going out? Nuar will give you candy. Don't be angry, okay?" He looked at her tenderly and reassured her, "It's not that I don't like going out with you. It's just," Yi Siming explained, "temples enshrine orthodox deities." He frowned with concern. "Every time I get close to a place like this, the Azura energy within me stirs uncontrollably." Ji Nuar looked at him quizzically. He offered an excuse, a hint of sadness in his voice. "It's nothing. I just got up too early and feel a little unwell. I'm going to find a place to sleep for a while. If anything comes up, have one call me. I'll definitely come." Suddenly, she leaned in very close, their foreheads almost touching. "Are you unwell? Do you have a fever?" The close proximity made Yi Siming blush. She asked, her round eyes wide, "Do you have a fever?" The little one persisted, let Nuabao see. He became flustered and speechless. Blushing crimson, he stammered in agreement, then deliberately turned his face away. "I'm fine. Don't worry about me." Nuwater's eyes widened in surprise at his response. He picked her up and pointed forward. Why aren't you worried about the dark aura surrounding the empress? Just then, Ayun called out angrily, what are you standing around for? Hurry up and get the luggage from the back of the carriage. I remember everything, Mu Shujin retorted softly. But the empress wanted to get out, and she told me to wait. The girl threatened, do you want a beating? Shut up and go. She reluctantly agreed. Yes. Ji Nur, seeing all this, felt very uncomfortable. Brother Simon, you saw that too, right? There's something wrong with that Ayun. Now Mu Shujin had to carry many heavy items, which worried the young girl. This was actually one of the reasons Nuar insisted on accompanying the empress along with that fool. In front of the Taisui temple, Ayun carefully followed beside the empress, helping her up the steps one by one. The empress turned around and questioned, Ayun, why are you making things difficult for Shujin? How can she carry so much luggage by herself? Ayun replied casually, it's all right, your majesty. Shujin is strong and likes to work. You don't have to worry about her. Go and rest. The empress impatiently ignored her and turned to instruct someone. Go help Miss Shujin with the luggage. Ayun anxiously called out, your majesty, why are you bothering with her? She'll be fine. Suddenly, Ayun slipped and screamed with a pale face, your majesty, catch me. The empress was startled and fell with her. Ayun took the opportunity to push the empress, causing her to fall backward as well. Mu Shujin anxiously shouted from behind, this is bad. The little princess frowned and thought, let's see Nuar's magic. She waved her hand, and a green power appeared, quickly flying towards the empress. The power enveloped the empress's body, and a fairy who looked like Mu Shujin appeared beside her. The empress landed safely, watching in surprise as the spiritual energy slowly dissipated. Seeing Shujin lying on the ground, she asked with concern, Shujin, did you save me? Are you all right? Although her nose was bleeding, Shujin smiled and replied, I'm fine, your majesty. As long as you are safe. The empress covered her mouth, looked at Shujin's disheveled appearance, and said in a panic, you say you're fine, but you're bleeding. Call the imperial physician quickly. At this time, Ayun and the other palace maids rushed over in a flurry. Your majesty, we must call the imperial physician. You must be injured. Please return to the meditation room to rest. The empress frowned helplessly and said, it's not me who's injured, it's Shujin. Ayun impatiently dragged her away, sweet-talking, your majesty, your well-being is the most important. Don't worry about others. Ji Nur sighed wearily at the sight and instructed, Brother Simon, you rest early. Nuo Bao will go over there and take a look. He obediently replied, okay. At the Taisui temple, despite her injuries, Mu Shujin was still limping while carrying the heavy luggage. Suddenly, she tripped and fell, scattering the items everywhere. Unexpectedly, the items sprouted wings and floated in the air, causing her to widen her eyes in surprise. This is magic. The little princess appeared, her hands surrounded by spiritual energy, and sighed, it is magic. Actually, with Sister Shujin's abilities, this small matter is easy, but why, besides saving people, does she never use her own power, letting others bully her? Mu Shujin, her face disheveled and tears welling up in her eyes, asked, does the princess know about my family situation? My father used black magic to curse others. Although it was dangerous, it was ultimately because of ignorant cultivation that he offended someone. As the daughter of a sinner, I have no face to use magic again. At this point, a glimmer of light appeared on her face. As for saving people, just like the princess said, I'm only repaying the empress's kindness. Perhaps the empress has long forgotten, but back then, when my whole family was about to be killed, she recalled the past. The empress persuaded the emperor by saying that it would extend the princess's lifespan and avoid bloodshed, and that's how she saved my entire Mu family. That's why I risked my life to protect the empress. The little princess understood, so that's how it is. She extended her chubby little hand and gently touched Mu Shujin's cheek, comforting her, but it was your father who committed the crime, not you. You shouldn't punish yourself for the mistakes of others. The place where her hand touched suddenly glowed. The little princess smiled knowingly. You were born with a purpose, weren't you, Sister Shujin? Mu Shujin touched the scar on her face and found that it had completely disappeared. Everything was healed. She widened her eyes in surprise. Mu Shujin smiled gratefully. Thank you, little princess, for saying these words to me. I will think about it carefully. The little princess waved her hand and left. That's good. I'll go now. Goodbye, Sister Shujin. Mu Shujin called out to the little princess worriedly. Little princess, wait, I have something to tell you. Actually, there's someone near you. Before she could finish, she regretted it and quickly covered her mouth. Oh no, I can't tell the princess yet. She's still too young. It's useless even if I tell her. She forced a smile and said goodbye. Princess Nur, suspecting nothing, simply replied farewell. Mu Shujin watched her go with worry, thinking, I should secretly draw a protection charm for her. And so, a protection charm was quietly imprinted on Noir's back. Meanwhile, the scheming Xiaoyun was hiding in the nearby bamboo grove, eavesdropping on everything. She gritted her teeth, thinking good, Mu Shujin, you've charmed the empress, and now you're buttering up the little princess, you wretch. The empress is useless, even making me apologize to her and giving her the jade bracelet reward. Why does she deserve it? Clutching something tightly in her hand, her face twisted with malice, she cursed under her breath. I'm the one who should be favored by the masters, only I. Anyone who gets in my way. She flung the jade bracelet the empress had given to Shujin into the water without hesitation, viciously spitting out, just die. Night fell. Simon lay on the roof, sighing, this place is covered in dense formations, making me incredibly uncomfortable. If it weren't for that little one, I wouldn't be caught dead here. He had just thought of the little darling when her small head popped up. Simon Gidge, she called, are you still awake? Are you thinking about Noir? He asked in surprise, how did you get up here? The little girl replied with a smile. Sister Zhang Sui brought Noir up. She then held the bag out to him. Sister Wanyin said Simon Gidge hasn't eaten all day, and Noir was worried. The monks at the temple gave Noir some roasted chestnuts, and Noir brought them for Simon Gidge. Eat them while they're hot. Simon took the chestnuts. The bag suddenly shimmered, causing him to break out in a cold sweat. He worried it was actually a charm. In an instant, a wave of black energy surged from within him. He clutched his chest in agony. The little princess cried out in alarm. Simon Gidge, what's wrong? His head throbbed. Incomprehensible runes flashed before his eyes, and he yelled, losing control. Shut up, everyone be quiet. Seeing this, Noir's eyes immediately filled with tears. Simon Gidge, what's wrong? She asked anxiously. Clutching his head, he desperately tried to send her away while he still had some control. Noir, go. I can't. The little girl cried anxiously. How could Noir bear to leave Simon Gidge alone? Don't worry, Simon Gidge. Noir will go find someone to help you, she mumbled, looking down. No, a seductive voice within him tempted. Eat her. Simon gritted his teeth, desperately suppressing the demonic influence. If anyone else comes, I'm afraid I'll really lose control and start killing. The voice echoed in his ears. Kill her. We need human blood. He clutched his head in agony, hoarsely growling. No, shut up. Noir, however, wasn't afraid at all. Instead, she approached him and called Simon Gidge. She extended a chubby little finger towards him. The demonic voice praised, this little one smells so good. Losing control, he bit her finger. The little princess cried out in pain. Wah, Simon Gidge, my finger hurts. Noir will go find Dr. Daddy to look at you. Don't bite Noir, okay? Hearing her soft voice, he gradually regained his senses and released her small hand. He hugged her tightly, filled with self-reproach. I'm sorry, I lost control just now. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. The little princess wiped her tears and asked with concern, Noir knows Simon Gidge wouldn't do that if he wasn't feeling unwell. Are you feeling better now? Simon Gidge. He gently stroked her head and said softly, much better. The little princess innocently held up her finger and complained, that's good, but Noir's finger still hurts. Simon Gidge has to peel chestnuts for Noir to eat, then it will be better. Hearing this, he blushed crimson. She teased him further, but aren't these for you? The little one grinned. Yes, but Noir is so small, just a little bit is enough. He agreed. Okay, I'll peel them for you. He quickly dispelled the charm and, based on the traces, roughly guessed what had happened. But this protection charm had to be removed. It was too careless. It must be Mu Shujin's. He'd settle the score with her later. Suddenly, rustling sounds came from all around. Siming put a finger to his lips, signaling show. It seemed someone was below. The little princess looked down curiously. Really? Noir will go take a look. She whispered, is it Xiaoyan? He answered from beside her, yes, she's heading towards the back mountain, sneaking around with a bucket. Who knows what she's up to again? The little girl furrowed her brow, recalling Sister Wanyin seemed to say that tomorrow the empress will take Noir to the back mountain pagoda to pray for blessings. The clever little girl guessed something and said excitedly, "Simon Gidge, no, I bet there will be a good show tomorrow, and it won't be small. You're not feeling well, so it's best not to join in the fun." Simon gently fed her a chestnut and instructed, "Okay, but you must promise me you'll protect yourself." She nodded happily. "Okay." The chestnuts are so yummy. Another one. The next day, the fragrance of orchids filled the room. The empress said happily, "Nuo Bao has been so well behaved these past few days. Once we finish the ceremony together, we can go home." Xiaoyan busied herself tidying the empress's clothes, while Wan Yin prepared the little princess. The little princess said cheerfully, "It's not Nuar going with the empress. It's the empress who wants to go with Nuar." The empress laughed and agreed. "All right, the empress will entrust herself to Nuo Bao." Suddenly, Xiaoyan turned back and instructed Mu Shuzhen, "I forgot something important to bring to the empress. I'll go back and get it." She seemed flustered, but at this time, only Wan Yin would be with the empress. Mu Shuzhen started to say something, but Xiaoyan sharply interrupted her. "Don't say anything, just go, and come back quickly." In the end, they both went back to find the item. Mu Shuzhen walked ahead, asking worriedly, "Ayun, where is it?" She was secretly preparing to attack her from behind with a stick. Mu Shuzhen was locked in an old room by the girl, who mocked her. "Ha, you fool! How could the empress and princess like you? You're useless. But don't worry, everything will change soon." Xiaoyan said with a smug look, "I've poured oil in the tower. That's where the princess and the empress are going. Once they go inside, the whole place will burn down." She fantasized about being the first to rush in and save them, and the empress would surely make her a confidant. "Don't worry, your majesty, I'm coming to save you. Ayun is coming." She then imagined poor Mu Shuzhen, her face full of complacency. "They'll find you poured all that oil, and you'll be taken for the arsonist." She locked the door and left, satisfied. "Shuzhen, my future depends on you." Xiaoyan spat her last words through the crack in the door. "Goodbye, Mu Shuzhen." Meanwhile, the empress was kneeling before a Buddhist statue, praying devoutly. She slowly lit the incense in her hand. Little Princess Nuar jumped out. "Mother, don't light the incense. Trust me, don't light it." Simon paced outside, a sense of unease in his heart. He decided to go and check. Suddenly, a thick black smoke rose. Xiaoyan began to feign alarm, shouting, "Fire! Save the empress and princess." "Your majesty, princess, Ayun is coming." Simon, sitting in a tree, found her performance amusing. Wan Yin remained as innocent as ever. She blurted out what? Xiaoyan, seeing her, gave a sinister smile and resumed her act, urging everyone, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and save them." "Your majesty, princess, Ayun is coming." The fire grew fiercer. How could it burn so fiercely? She pretended to fall, screaming incessantly. Wan Yin angrily shouted from behind, "If you're scared, move. Don't block us from saving them." Simon suddenly appeared, saying coldly, "Ji-Yuner, is this the good show you wanted me to see?" Wan Yin was shocked. "Young Master Yi, shouldn't you be resting?" He didn't answer, his expression grave. A dark figure flashed into the inferno, moving as fast as lightning. His eyes were bloodshot, ignoring the danger, searching everywhere, shouting, "Ji-Yuner, you must be safe.